grip. Hit her with the hammer time, too legit to quit. Keep bouncing, girl, keep bouncing. Keep bouncing, girl, keep bouncing. Keep bouncing, girl, keep bouncing. Keep bouncing, keep bouncing. Jump, 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 jump. The Mac Daddy make it hard. Jump, 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 jump. The Mac Daddy make it hard. 88 bunny, 88 bunny, 88 bunny, 88 bunny, 88 bunny. I make a bounce on those.
This is the unstoppable, undeniable, uncomparable AWP, Almighty AWP Attention Whores Podcast, episode 513, whichever one. Word. I don't really, numbers are numbers, you know. You keep seeing me, and this is kind of on some like not last minute, but he was like, "Yo, I could come through today." I said, fuck it then, let's get it going.
Let's do it.
This is an old friend of mine, you know what I mean? I met him through my brother Murdoch, you know what I mean? I like to call them my Republican friends. My Republican boys. And I got to shout out this man, Rich Valdes, you know what I mean? Because he's always been about his business. He's always been on the next level to go. And I think the first time that we ever interacted had to do with the VH1
Save the Music.
Save the Music. I'm not showcase / party / networking.
For sure. We was trying, you know, what VH1 Save the Music Foundation did was raise awareness, raise money so that kids in urban cities that didn't learn music education could have an opportunity to learn about music. So I would help out as best as I could, getting some of my peoples together, some celebrities, putting on a show so that people could learn about it and donate.
Okay. And I had fun. You know what I mean?
Me too.
It was liquor. There was a lot of ladies. There was a lot of things going on. I got to meet Tretch for the first time there. You know what I mean? Kai Will. Shout out to my brother Kai Will.
Kai Will.
You know what I mean? A lot of people, you know, my Ice-T, it was a lot of things going on back then. That's back when I was heavy into the music, rapping a lot more. You know, Doc was doing his music thing. We were performing and showcasing and things of that nature. And then after that part, we were doing that for a couple years, at least a couple years ongoing. You know what I mean? And then my brother Doc, he became a cameraman. Dylan, you got him involved.
Got him in.
And I used to call him the Obama Republican because he looked like Obama. And I was like, okay, I see what you're doing. But I was like, it'd be great to get Rich on the podcast. And it's funny mentioning Doc real quick because he had actually told me ahead before I hit you up. He was like, yo, Rich want to do your pod? I said, really? Come on now.
I watch as many as I can. I'm always checking it out. I love the topic, especially with the shorties on.
Oh yeah.
They give their perspective.
I try to make it is because I'm gonna come off like not well, my mom was saying male chauvinist or some sort like that. I'm gonna come from my point, but I have to always, you know, have the female's point of view and try to come to a good point of view out of both. You know what I mean? So I try to bring entertainment, knowledge, education, all that good stuff in here. And he told me he was watching, he wanted to be on it. So I was like, all right. So when it happened that, you know, politics is very heavy right now, I think this is going to be one of the most important elections. And it could be most important time of our lives right now because there's a lot of stuff going on. Just going on the news, there's stuff happening in Palestine. There's stuff happening in D.C. with the flag and stuff right now. There's a lot of things going on. I was like, it'd be great to have Rich on there. And then when they tried to assassinate Trump, I hit him right after that. I said, yo, they tried to take your boy out.
Hey, Trumpito!
I said, whenever you have time, let me know. And he said, yo, let's do it. I said, all right, fuck it, let's do it. So this is Rich Valdes. How you doing, sir?
Salute. P.O., thanks for the invitation. Thanks for having me, brother.
Thank you for coming through. So before we get into all the politics, this is going to be called politics as usual. Before we get into all that, how did you come up, bro? Give me your outcome and what. Give me, because there's a lot to talk. We're going to talk about hip hop too, because a lot of things happening in the hip hop world too. So where'd you come up? What was your thing? Like, what got you to where you are now?
All right, so it started out in Brooklyn, New York, 1978. Grab your notepad.
Oh, so you're only 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nothing.
And my parents split up and ended up in Jersey when I was about 12.
Brooklyn?
Yeah, from Brooklyn. We came to Jersey. And I like Jersey. I still love Jersey. I'm still in Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Jersey was great. As a teenager, I started messing around, drawing designs in the sides of my friend's hair. And it was stuff that I was getting done. I used to go to the Village to this spot called Ginger Rose, another spot called Astor Place to get my fade. And back when I had hair.
To get the fade.
Get the fade, keeping it tight. And it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money. Had to, cut school, work, go get the cut. It was a big event. And a lot of people, they'll be like, yo, I like your hair. It's really cool. I was
back when you had hair.
Back when I had hair, when I had the fade. So long story short, I started. I'm like, yo, let me practice on you, and I started doing it with my voice. And before you knew it, I was like a full-blown barber. I
never knew this.
Yeah. So I had a barbershop called Fat Fades Barbershop in West New York.
What the hell?
Yeah. Okay. For years. And
Fat Fades
Barber. Yeah, PHAT Fades.
Oh my God. What year? Yeah. What year are we in?
This is the 90s.
Oh Jesus. Yeah.
This is the 90s.
This is fresh out of high school or something like that?
No, this is in high school.
Oh Jesus! Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So my brother, I was doing it in my house, and it got busy. Kind of like I had a couch. We had music. I was cutting in the corner, and it got really good. People started coming at like a business, and the way that happened was kind of like a joke. A friend of mine was taking a graphics class in high school, and he had to make a flyer as a project for school.
Okay,
and he put my real phone number on a flyer that said Fat Fades. He made this whole name up. He created the logo, all that, and he puts my name, he puts my number on it. So all of a sudden, my phone starts ringing, and people are like, yo, you giving haircuts for $5 in your house? And I'm like, yeah, bet. And
that's good marketing.
That's how it went down. So there were 2,000 flyers floating around the high school, and it just happened. My brother comes to me one day, and he says, bro, I'll spot you some money. Let's open a shop. And I was like, I'm 16.
What's spotting you money to open the shop? How do you spot somebody money to open up a business? I never heard that terminology.
He was making himself a partner.
Okay.
So I was like,
what did he do?
Well, I told him, I said, you're going to lose your money.
No, what did he do to have the money?
Oh, I don't know.
There you go.
He's my big brother.
Oh, yeah. I had a big brother too. So, I mean, not related, but.
Yeah, no, he's my brother. So he was like, no, I believe in you. You could do this. And I was like, Lou, you're going to lose your money, bro. So anyway, we find a spot. It's a beauty salon with a guy that, does women's hair, and he's on the rocks. His business is not going great. And my brother approached him. He was like, yeah, I want this much. We made a deal. The dude had a very bad crack habit, and he had to keep up his end of the bargain, which he didn't. So we ended up like foreclosing the deal on him. We owed him, but he owed us.
Okay.
And we had our shop. And we started doing what we did. That was my senior year of high school by the time that happened. I started cutting hair around my sophomore year.
Okay.
So it was my third year now cutting hair. I have a pretty decent clientele. And I went to school to Votech.
Okay.
To become a licensed cosmetologist.
Yeah, cosmetologist.
And what I did was, it was my senior year of high school, so I started going to high school at night. So I could go to cosmetology school during the day to do, because they didn't have a just barber course. That didn't come till later. So
you had to learn all types of. So you could
nails,
do women,
massage, all of that.
Oh, you do it all.
So I was doing that. I went to school in Jersey City, downtown Jersey City. Met a lot of cool people.
Where part of Jersey? I used to be out
Montgomery. I'm Montgomery.
Okay, Montgomery. Okay. What was the name of the school?
Earl W. Bird. It's the Votech that's right on Montgomery. So did that. Fast forward, opened the shop. The shop grew to about 100 people a day, and we moved it to a few blocks down to 60th and Broadway in West New York. Did so well that people started approaching me to buy the shop. Okay. And I was like, all right, bet. Yeah, if you give me this number, I'll sell it to you. And I got into cell phones. And
I'm just watching this moment.
Right on hustle. Yeah, I knew a dude, and he was like, yo, you'd be good at this. He taught me the game. I became his partner. And we did our thing. I made some decent money, but then towards the end, there was this .com bubble burst, and people started holding back on a lot of tech purchases. And back then, this wasn't like it is now. It's like $60 unlimited. Back then, it was like $30 for 60 minutes per month, right? So it was expensive to have a cell phone, and a lot of people started canceling their contracts, and that's where I was making my money, because these cell phone companies were hitting me back on a commission for every contract, 1-year contract that you sold. So I did really well, but when they canceled, you did really bad. And eventually I got out of that business and went straight to work for Verizon Wireless as a corporate sales executive. By then, my wife was pregnant. We had our first daughter. Then the second one came. I bought a condo in Union City. We sold it.
So you just stepping and stepping.
Yeah, I was 23 at the time. Then my wife was pregnant again. Second daughter was coming. She wanted to move to the suburbs. We sold the condo and we really did well on that, because they had just opened up a light rail station, this train station. It wasn't there when we bought the condo, so it went up a lot in value. Moved to Nutley, New Jersey, Essex County, 1-family house, live in the American dream, white picket fence. Very cool. Throughout all of that process, being in business for myself, becoming a homeowner at a young age, having another business, the first thing I learned was the government wants to be my partner. I do all the work, and then they come, Uncle Sam, like this, and they're like, give me 20%, give me 30%.
Legal extortion.
Taxes.
Legal extortion.
And this legal extortion, taxation is theft. It really made me look at politicians. Because when you're in business for yourself, the politicians come knocking. And they're like, yo, P.O., you got a business? Oh, you should come to this thing. You should come to this fundraiser. Oh, you should come to this. Oh, you should meet the mayor. Oh, you should join the Rotary Club. Oh, you should join the Kiwanis. You should join this and you should join that. And I was like, oh, everybody wants me to join something. And everything costs me money. Okay. Hold up, chill, right? I don't want to do that. So I'm looking at all these things and I'm thinking, man, these people all want my money. And I was grinding for my money. So I was like, no. When you're a barber, you work 16, 17, 18-hour days sometimes.
That's right.
To make money. And back then, it wasn't like now where it's $35.
You had other people working.
Yeah. I had 5 barbers plus me most of the time. So, it was a very busy shop. And I realized the government wants to strong arm themselves into my business. And I started looking at how the politicians moved, because I didn't care about politics at all. I really didn't. My mom was, she liked Reagan. My dad liked Reagan. But,
Reagan years.
But those were Reagan years. Everybody liked Reagan during the Reagan years. They was getting money. So ultimately, I say, let me see what's up here. And I would ask these politicians that I would meet and be like, what's your position on taxes? And because it was a big thing for me. I was like, wow, I'm legit. I have a business, and all of a sudden, I'm the one getting robbed. So I was always asking them, and I started noticing all the ones that were like, oh, if I can get rid of taxes tomorrow, I would. They were all Republicans. And I thought you were supposed to be the bad guys. They raised me to think that, not they, the community, right? Republicans are for the rich and Democrats are for the poor. And I remember hearing that always as a kid and thinking, I'm already poor. I want to be rich. So if Republicans are for the rich, then I probably want to be with the Republicans.
Yeah.
And as an adult now, a young adult, I'm seeing, wow. So these guys in the Democrat Party were all about, let's raise more taxes. More taxes from guys like me so that they could give someone else a free service.
Is that considered middle class or what?
It was the tax-paying class, right? Because ultimately, I think if you're either paying taxes or you're not, right? And that's really how it comes down. And look at a guy like Trump, that he can get away with not paying taxes on certain corporations, but he's got to pay income tax for himself, hundreds of millions of dollars on the billions he makes, right? So he's paying tax. Bezos too. All these guys, even if they're getting a break on the business side, they're paying individual taxes just like you and me are. The difference is they pay at a higher percentage because they're making more money, which is another thing I think is unfair. I think if you make $10 billion and I make $100,000, if we each paid 15% in taxes, it would be 15% on your 10 billion, 15% on my 100K.
But that's if we're at the same rate. No. If we're at the same stance.
My point is that I don't see why if you make 10 billion, you should pay 40% in taxes and I should pay 15. I think everybody should just pay the same amount.
I understand.
Flat and fair tax.
Yeah, I could agree with that, but
it's not the case.
No,
right? They engineered this whole plan to say, no, the more you make, the more we're going to take. And it was bizarre to me. It was bizarre that every year that I made more money, they took more money, and not in a graduated sense, like, oh, well, 10% of this much is that much. No, it was, if you made more, now we're taking 12, now we're taking 14, now we're taking 20, now we're taking 12. I remember one year I paid something like 30-something% in tax, and I was like, what is going on? Somebody call the police, I'm getting robbed. But there was nobody to save me. So I quickly realized that I didn't use the government, right? I didn't, as a kid, I collected government cheese on a line with my siblings. Truck pulled up to Flatbush Avenue, and I remember we got out, and my sister went, my brother went. We got 4 blocks of cheese. We was gaming the system.
Damn, and that cheese is not cheese. Let's be clear about that.
And we had these 4 bricks of cheese. But once life got better, you learn that, you know what? It's a lot better to earn money. It's a lot better to have a business. It's a lot better to do your own thing. It's a lot better to do your own thing and spend your money and floss and do whatever you want than it is to rely on the government giving you a block of cheese. People want to come at me or anybody else saying, oh, so you're all about the rich people and screw the poor people, and isn't it the government's job to take care of them?
Is that what you get a lot?
I get that all the time. And I'm going to say, when I was poor, I'm pretty sure that there were some government services that we took advantage of, like government cheese.
Yeah.
However,
we took advantage of anything we could have got.
But the hustle mentality is from hustling, right? It's from not having and making sure you have
more.
So, you know, I remember my dad had several jobs. My mom, she used to grind. So I realized that's really the way out of a bad situation. It's not to think we've got to get more from the government. I want less from the government. I want everybody to have less from the government. If everybody could do really well, that would be great. So that's my fundamental outlook on things. And I realize we don't need a massive government. And I could get into other stuff about like charity. Charity was once the church, right? It was people were hungry. They went to the church for food. You had a kid you couldn't take care of. The orphanage was a part of the church.
Yeah, but that's before the church was bought off, though.
Well, perhaps. I think that,
I mean, there's certain ones that are.
I think that the government has gotten very greedy and has gotten into a lot of businesses that they don't belong in. And many churches have acquiesced and said, you know what? Oh, yeah, you want to do that, government? Go ahead, do you? And all of a sudden, here we are today where we have little children, young children, coming across the border alone, ending up working in chicken factories in the middle of the country, losing their hands inside machines, working the midnight shift. Nobody even knows who these kids' parents are.
You're talking about kids that's coming from across the border.
Talking about the slave trade that is going on right now in this country of illegal immigrants that end up in this country working these overnight shifts somewhere in Montana and Iowa.
Can I ask a question? So someone that doesn't know specifically, when they say immigrants and migrants, are they talking about 2 different types, or are they mixing them?
Well, I think, is there a distinction between the 2? Yes. But is there a distinction between the 2 in our country? No.
No, that's not how we're going to see it. We're going to see it kind of the same way.
Well, it is the same way, because what's happening right now is you've got the government sponsoring a slave trade. And it's a horrible thing. Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas and Kamala Harris, they have literally opened the floodgates and said to every cartel, and it's really the Sinaloa cartel, all these cartels here, they're in the business of moving stuff across the border.
Gotcha.
Bricks, pills,
trade,
people.
Yeah.
And there's a market for it. There are factories in the middle of our country. They're not in New York. They're not in California. Middle America, where they produce chicken, where they produce lots of different things. And they've got all these little kids in there that are working for nothing, like working over straight sweatshop, right? And our government's supposed to protect those kids, and they're not. Okay. Now that's one side of the story. Listen, I was a kid once, and I grinded too. I worked in the Dunkin' Donuts in Hackensack when I was 15 without working papers.
The way you say it sounds more like, you know how back in the day they would have like kids working more jobs and doing like mine work and stuff like that. That's how it sounds.
These kids aren't 15. They're 11, 12, 13, right? So that's just one part of it. Those are the boys. Where do the girls go? There's a whole bunch of that going on too. These little girls are all over the place. I interviewed somebody on my radio show that he's a lawyer today, but he was kidnapped at 4 or 5 years old and was held captive.
He remembers this.
Oh yeah, he told the whole story, wrote a book about it.
Okay.
And he was held captive for almost a dozen years and escaped when he was 16. And he remembers that he was out with his family. they took him away. They lured him with, like, hey, come here, we're friends of your family, whatever. And he said he lived on a ranch, what he called a pedophile ranch.
Oh, shit.
His words, not mine. And on this ranch, men that engaged in pedophilia would go there to vacation.
This is in America.
This is in California.
Whew.
They would go and spend the time there. And again, when he was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they'd say, oh, I want that kid, or I want that kid. And he had other kids that lived there, and they had to give themselves to these men that were paying to be on this ranch. There's a huge market for this. I don't do it. You don't do it. We don't hear about it. That's why nobody's selling it to us.
Well, the news is not going to...
And the news don't do it because ultimately a lot of these people are interconnected.
Oh, yes.
So it's a scary thing that's happening. But to kind of answer the question, how did I end up and how did I come up? That's kind of how I came up. Right?
You came up hustling.
I came up hustling. I ended up getting involved in politics because people are taking my money through taxation, which I think is theft. And then the next thing you know, the politicians themselves are like, oh, you should get involved in politics. You speak really well. You're this, you're that. I like your personality, blah, blah, blah. I'm like...
You do have that. Come on.
Thank you. So I start getting involved in volunteering for things because they're like, oh, if you're a tax buster, volunteer for this campaign and that campaign. Before you knew it, I volunteered for this. I volunteered for that. I met some people. Politics is cool and it's fun. It's like any other thing that you can get into if you enjoy it. However... Eventually, they asked me to do they're like, hey, can you, the United States Attorney for New Jersey, a guy named Christopher Christie, he's thinking of running for governor. And he wants to...
Big Christopher?
Chris Christie, yeah. We want to take him to the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and we want somebody that's a Hispanic businessman to kind of...
What's your nationality? Straight?
My parents are Puerto Rican.
Okay, straight Puerto Rican, okay.
So, my mom is half Panamanian.
Oh, okay.
So big up to the reggaeton. And we went. I met him. We talked. Very simple stuff. For a while, I was working in higher education. The campaign hit me again. They were like, hey, would you talk to us a little bit about your thoughts on higher education and how it affects the Hispanic community? The campaign wanted to know. Yeah. So I told him about it. So eventually he gets elected governor. And when he does, they offer me a job as the director of faith-based affairs, because I worked for a Christian college. And it was a nice offer. I appreciated it, but it just wasn't enough money. I had a house in Nutley. I had 2 daughters. I had a wife. There was no way that I was going to be able to work on the money that they were offering. And he refused to increase any salaries in the governor's office because he felt that there was too much government waste going into salaries.
Gotcha.
I respected that. I was like, all right, cool. But they hit me back. They had a different job working in the Department of Children and Families. And working directly with the community to bridge the gap between doing things the right way and getting the tools to people who need them and parents that might have been struggling or families that were struggling for many different reasons, whether it was parents that were struggling or kids that had behavioral issues. And the idea behind it was not to be like, I know something you don't know. It was more like, I don't know anything about you, but I do know that this woman has 4 kids and 2 of her kids are adults and they're grandkids. So let's call her Big Mama. And Big Mama has experience being a mom. So we want to connect this woman who's lived in this neighborhood for 25 years with you that is 19 and just had your first kid, so that there's a mentorship going on. So the government, we paid for that. We paid for this neighborhood community center called a Family Success Center. So my job was to oversee about 40 of these centers throughout the state to make sure that we were funding them so that people could use them for whatever they felt the need was. Okay. And it was real important in the structuring of this that the government was not coming to you and saying, hey, P.O., this is what we're going to do, and we're setting up shop in your hood. No, it was, we're offering this service. If you want it, you can compete for the grant. We're going to help you get the grant. We want to give it to the best person possible. So we'll train you and equip you so that this can be something for your neighborhood. I love the idea that it gave the power to the people and that they were able to do what they did. And the government wasn't telling them what to do, but really helping them, which is, I think, the right role for government. And I did that and it was cool. And then I got out of working for the government and started working in media. I wrote a column in the Washington Times for a little bit. And then it was while I was doing that work with the Washington Times that my brother, same brother who sponsored my barbershop.
Sponsor. Big bro sponsor.
He tells me, he's like, yo, I heard about this dude, James O'Keefe. I was like, oh, I know O'Keefe. This is the dude who makes the undercover videos. And he's always, getting people saying silly things. usually politicians or people from teachers unions and whatever.
Was he a reporter or something? What is he?
Yeah, he's like an undercover reporter. He made all these undercover videos.
Okay.
So he's like, well, they said they're looking for somebody who works, who knows politics and who knows the media. And I was like, well, that's my background. So, you know, I started an email thread with these people, and there was an opportunity to start producing videos for them and help them produce some of these undercover things. One of the big ones he did was for this organization that claimed to help people with mortgages and refinancing, and you know, if you're low income, we got you. But ultimately, they just made tons of money through government grants, and a lot of people were living really good, and the people weren't really getting the help that they needed per se. So O'Keefe he did this undercover video, and like wearing a camera that they couldn't see, and he was like, "Hey, look, we're thinking of buying a condo." And they were like, "Oh, so you know, how do you make your money?" He's like, "Well, I'd rather not say, but let's just say
they want to know the source.
Women sell their body parts, and I don't want to say too much." And they were like, "Oh, exotic dancing," and these people were helping them commit tax fraud so that they could get approved for these government grants.
I could see it. I could see it, and I'm not.
Well, you can see it, but the district attorney would see it very different.
Honestly, yeah, I know that, but I could see how they could put it behind that.
Yeah.
Front it, basically.
So they did that. And again, if it was to help people, I think people would look the other way. But it was really a lot of people making money on these government grants. So your tax dollars, my tax dollars, going to a lot of executives in a big company that helped very few people at the bottom, and the money stayed at the top. And that's kind of how a lot of political corruption works. So he started this whole company to educating the public about this type of corruption by doing undercover videos. And he dressed like a pimp, and he added humor to it.
He got all that
into play. So I worked with him for a while. Very controversial dude. A lot of people, you know, it was love and hate for a lot of people with him. But I respect the work he does. He's very good at what he does, and nobody really does it as good as him. And it was doing that I got more involved in the media, and we produced some movies about like Hollywood types that were like, it's the environment, you got to stop ruining the environment. And I had a buddy of mine that is Arabic, and he posed as a Middle Eastern oil magnate. And he was just like,
I've ever heard of something like magnate.
Yeah, like a mogul.
Oh, okay.
Big dog, shot caller. So he goes to them and he says, "Hey, look, my family owns a lot of oil fields. I'm in the oil business." He goes to these Hollywood producers and some Hollywood actors, and we've got this on video at the Beverly Hills Hotel. They don't know it's on video. And he says to them, "Look, to protect my oil business, I need to destroy alternative sources of energy, like liquid natural gas, which is a lot cleaner than fossil fuels and whatever, which they claim to hate." But
fossil fuels is funny when they still claiming it's fossil fuels.
Right. So he says, "I need you to do a movie against fracking and looking for liquid natural gas, because ultimately that business is
still going on in Middle America, right?"
Sure, well, it's all over. Yeah. I mean, well, honestly,
it started basically in
what's happened. The fracking is happening, and it actually created one of the most robust economies our country's ever seen. You have all these dudes. I got a guy out in Texas. It kind of looks like you a little bit, my guy Paul, and this guy makes $170,000 a year fracking, cracking shale. They get gas out of the ground and they sell this natural gas. We have tons of it. Tons of it. They're in Pennsylvania, they're in South Dakota, they're in North Dakota.
But is it still, they're getting it out of the ground, or they're...
Yeah, they get it out of the ground. That's what it's called hydrofracking.
Hydrofracking, right? But is that still causing like the housing and all that? Is that causing that, or is it taking away? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I guess it's debatable, right? I think those that don't like this process and the fact that you can get rich off natural gas are the first ones to say, this is ruining the water supply, this is ruining this, and it's ruining that. Those that like it say, we took a bunch of guys that didn't know how to do a lot of work, and now these guys are making $200K a year, and they're buying houses, and they're contributing to the economy, and life is golden.
That's what I think the whole, because I wanted you to pretty much explain where you come from and how you got there. I think it's pretty much how the world is, especially this country, is basically, if you're making money doing whatever you're doing, they don't see anything wrong with it because it's not affecting them. And I think that's always been the issue with the whole Republican and Democrat situation. Like that's just on a surface level. With me, I always was like, I never understood why black, brown people were always going for Democrat, even though I never seen anything to
Progress, real progress.
Yeah,
right.
real, yeah.
In my 46 years, I've never, even we had a black president. I've never seen.
Oh, don't get me started.
No, but I'm making the case that up until 2016 to 2020, that was the time in life where more people that look like you and me made more money than ever before.
I understand that. Because you got to think, well, in our lifetime, you're Reagan.
Yeah.
Because you're born in the Carter, I think it was Carter for Reagan, Republican, Bush, Republican. Then Clinton comes, he's Democrat, right?
Yeah, he came before Bush.
No, Bush was first.
Oh, Bush father. Yeah.
Why no? Everybody, my kid,
I didn't know you were going that far back.
They forgot Bush Jr. Well, you got Reagan, and then you go to Bush CIA,
and then Bush again.
And Bush was the vice president to Reagan.
Yeah.
So you got first senior Bush. Clinton was the first Democratic president since when?
Since Carter.
Right. And they gave Carter bad. And Carter didn't have a good deal when he was doing
one term, kind of like Biden.
Yeah, but Biden, I always thought Biden had the reason why Biden was because everybody was going against Trump, and well, majority of people was going against Trump, and the fact that he was Obama's vice, so they looked at it like that. But Biden, people don't understand. Biden has been on the same bullshit since the 80s. They were talking about him being trying to go for presidency in the 80s when
he's run 9 times.
9, I didn't know it was 9.
9 times. And he finally won.
Well, he had to do it because, but
no, he had to do it because he wanted to do it. It's not a bad gig, right? Living in the White House.
Yeah, I mean, when you're 80 years old, you got when you're off your thing. But yeah.
But going back to the economy, just to come full circle on that. So I think many issues have that about it, right? Where, for example, I've met people coming up that were involved in drugs, not doing drugs, selling drugs. And I would ask them, be like, yo, you don't feel bad that these people end up ODing and dying?
You're talking about street level.
Yeah, street level people that maybe graduate and then moving weight, and then they go to jail and then they come back and they do it again, right? Because a lot of people, that's all they know how to do.
It's lucrative.
Yeah, well, it's lucrative.
I think to their point of thinking is lucrative.
I think if you are able to earn $15,000 a night, and then you spend 5 years in prison and you come back, it's hard for a lot of these guys that come out of jail to say, I'm going to make $40K a year and I'm good. Some of them do. Most of them go, I'll do another 5 years in jail.
Then you have.
If I got 5 on the outside, 5 on the inside, I'm going to live these 5 with a lot of cash.
Let me try to get into legal pharmaceuticals because it's the same thing as just legalized, right?
Maybe.
But then
if you can get it legalized.
They're not able to do that after they're getting jailed up for something like that.
Well, weed.
Yeah, but then you got Mrs. German that's put enough brown people away for the weed.
Yeah. She's a hot mess. But I'm saying states like New Jersey are definitely allowing felons to open up dispensaries, and they're trying to put them first on the list and whatever the case is. But my point is, I realize that that's a thing. And the argument's the one you made before. It was like, somebody's going to do it, right? So I've got to make sure that I am earning this living, and as long as I'm making money, I'm good. So that's a moral debate that people have to take up with themselves and with God. I'm not endorsing people selling drugs. What I am saying is I do think we all have a right to earn, and to earn well, and we should. And I would love for every American to do well. And if we could eradicate poverty, that would be great. But I realize that there's a lot that goes into poverty, right? Some of it is systemic. I would agree that there's a lot of systemic poverty.
Well, I think with the poverty thing is systematic, because there has to be, in order, like, it's kind of like that thing when everybody's a superhero, then no one will be. So it's kind of like that kind of mind state. I can understand the government doing, like, you're going to have the higher class and you're going to have the lower class. Something about the middle class has been evaporating or been blending into either the lower class or the higher class now. But that's how it has to work for the system, for this system to work. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but I can understand it. But it's like, the poverty line is like when you're bringing more immigrants and everybody else in, and then you have all these people on the poverty line, the migrants or whatever, they're being put up, they've been placed in certain situations. Is that for the voting? Is that?
I would argue yes, because there's a few things happening, right? That when people say so-and-so is living 50% below poverty, this is an arbitrary number that some economist or politician comes up with and says in the government and says, this is the number. And this is what it means to be a poverty. Right now, right this second, right now as we're taping this, they're moving that line. So that very middle-class people are going to qualify for being in poverty.
I believe it.
Because instead of being like 50% of poverty, they're making it like 125% of poverty.
Oh, so
yeah. So meaning
when you 70% up more.
Check this out. When you were a kid, it was like, oh, you can apply for free or reduced lunch. Free if you were broke, reduced if you was sort of broke, right? And everybody else had to pay lunch. No, that's not how it was.
The reason, free or reduced, I wasn't in that. Well, because we had the free lunch program that the Black Panthers started, and then they implemented it into the government. So we had a lot of
government.
And
public schools.
Yeah, in public schools. So as a kid, I couldn't tell you if that's how it went because I was just used to, you could go there and get your free lunch or whatever.
Did everybody get it?
From my understanding, if they lived in that area, they could get it. I didn't think. I'm a kid at that point.
Right,
so I
couldn't
tell you.
I'm just saying.
I would have to talk to people.
When I went to school in Brooklyn, everybody got it. Mm-hmm. When I moved to Jersey, not everybody got it. Why? Because some of these kids, their parents owned the home. And if their parents owned the home, they weren't getting free lunch.
But then, all right, so I could see that because you're coming from a strictly urban area where there's more poverty induced than you're coming to a suburban area where they're like, wait.
And my point is that it made sense. It made sense.
I could understand that, even though you don't have to agree with it, but you could understand.
I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I'm making the point that we're moving the needle.
Oh, it's been moving.
So now you can make $100K and qualify for free lunch. Mm. Why is that a problem? I'll tell you my opinion on it. There are certain government systems that I think are very problematic for people. Communism is probably one that comes to mind most. So you got fat cats at the top eating really, really good, and you got everybody else at the bottom that isn't with them, that literally bears the brunt of everything. And then they're told, we got you. We're going to give you free this, free healthcare, free, like every liberal's dream is the Cuban government. They tell them, oh yeah, they give free healthcare. They have excellent literacy rates. They have the best medical system. But every Cuban I know will tell you it's an absolute nightmare. Don't get sick in Cuba. Lately, my buddy went to Havana recently. He invited me, and I was like, yeah, I'm down to go. And he was like, you know what? On second thought, I talked to my cousin. They don't even have steak at the resort. The resort don't even have steak to sell to the people at the resort. I looked it up. The United States Department of State says, don't go to Havana. Why? They're robbing tourists. Why? Because they're so broke. So when you look at how communist government systems work, that's what happens. How'd they get there? They get people dependent on the government. If you look at the systemic poverty that we have today, this is people being dependent on the government.
Oh, well, just about everybody, just a good 80% of people, especially black, brown, urban, or some kind of ethnic group, is dependent on them.
Doesn't that sound like a scam?
But also, in that same thought, there are white people there, but they don't count them. They don't count them.
In Kentucky?
They count us over them, though. When it comes to...
I don't know. I did some study a couple of years ago.
The numbers are saying white, but when they present it, it's brown. Let's say that.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what you're referencing, but I know I've seen like the numbers of people on public assistance, like welfare, food stamps, that type of thing. Whites, in these poor in Ohio.
But I'm talking about Kentucky, how they
led the way.
They present it like they're not. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm just saying when it's presented. I'm not saying the numbers aren't right.
The media?
Yes.
I think the media is fake, phony, and fraud.
I know that.
And they do what they do with very, very clear mission to get a certain outcome. Because, and again, it kind of goes back to this communist stuff I'm talking about. For Fidel Castro to do what he did, he needed an armed actual revolution, right? When they went against, after Batista.
Mm.
There was that part, but there was more. It was eating out people's brains. They had to sell them on this idea that there was a boogeyman. The boogeyman they chose is the United States.
Mm.
That does not mean that the United States is sinless.
Mm.
But today, watch a hip hop documentary the other day.
Which one? Just
Forget.
a random one that you just came across?
I just forget the name. But it's about this dude who writes, I think he used to write for Vibe magazine, and he's in Colombia, in Panama, in Cuba, and Puerto Rico. It's like a 5-part series, and he goes to all those places.
Interesting.
And it's on the roots of hip hop and reggaeton. So,
does this have to do because they're having a whole debate about
it was more just historical.
Oh, okay.
And he goes to each place. But when he's in Cuba, one of the guys he talks to, and he's like, "What do you think is the biggest contribution you guys have made?" And the guy's statement is, "I think we would have so much more under the belt right now, like Puerto Rico does, contributing to this genre, if it weren't for the embargo that we have with the United States." And as I heard that, I thought, what does the embargo with the United States have to do with the absolute poverty that they have in Cuba? Zero in my opinion.
That was his reasoning.
That was he believed that he was being held back in Cuba by his horrible government and his country that produces very little export and does what they do. And he was blaming people he didn't know as the bad guy.
Sounds familiar.
Right. But this is my point. Even to hip hop, right? To music. He's saying that, the music would have been better if it weren't for the United States. I can say I've traveled this world a little bit, and I hear American music in most countries on this planet.
Yeah.
Right? There's hip hop in many countries.
Yeah.
I was in Hungary. I heard Redman in Hungary.
And you're going to hear 90s older hip hop everywhere else.
Sure.
Like more.
My point is that there's influence, right? So you can make money and you can do well because of the United States. I think that's a fact, especially in music. Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, these are huge stars.
I think, I don't know, but I think is the look. Because coming outside of America and looking at how everyone else outside of America looks at America, the U.S., it's the bully that you can't beat.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree. And I'm just going to say, in Hungary,
I'm talking about how I see them. It's either they're with it, or it's the bully they can't beat, or the bully they can't get.
I guess it depends on who you ask, right? And that's true, right? The U.S. is definitely the bully that you can't beat if they're bullying you. When I was in Hungary in April, and these people were like, "Oh, you're from the U.S.? How cool!" They loved it. They wanted to know about New York. They wanted to know. There was nobody hating on anything about the matter of fact.
But you just said he blamed Cuba. Yeah, he blamed it. So I'm taking it from that point of view.
Right, and you know why? Because their government told them to.
Oh yeah, their government's going to tell them how to fare, who to fare, and all.
This is a very, very common theme when you have these authoritarian, dictatorial, communist-leaning types of leaders, and it's happening in Puerto Rico. It happens in Puerto Rico a lot. Right, so in Puerto Rico, they're constantly saying we need independence from the United States because we're a colony and we are being colonized by the U.S. And ultimately, it's the U.S.'s fault that we're not doing well. BS. The reason things aren't going well in Puerto Rico is because there are crooked Puerto Rican politicians.
Well, Puerto Rico is a part of America, right?
Sure, yeah, it's a territory, but there is very little truth to the idea that it's the U.S. that is causing the poverty in Puerto Rico. There's a lot of truth to the Jones Act. That's true. That you have to pay more to get the imports in. You have to use the union ships. You got to pay this guy to make sure you get stuff. You can't just have an independent shipping person come. That's all true. So that's why I say the U.S. isn't sinless. Congress can make the mistake and doesn't. But when you just have the simple idea of we're being held back because we're not independent, that's not true. They would do just as fine like New York does, like Florida does. If they were a state, they would do fantastic.
Do you think the mindset from someone like that hustler's ambition or spirit is not in them right now, or they're trying to find an easier way, or it's better to just point the finger?
I think when you have government systems like the one in Cuba and
that make it easier, supposedly.
Make it easier. They literally make it the only option. Like they control the TV channels you watch, like they do in North Korea, and they literally tell you this is bad, right? My podcast, This Is America with Rich Valdes, is not doing well. Why? Because PO has attention whores, and because of you, I'm suffering. That's a lie.
Yeah, it's not.
That's a lie, but this is what's told. And that lie is told right here in the United States.
And you have your own lane with your own people to build on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So same thing happens here when you go to a big city like Newark, you go to Brooklyn, New York, wherever you want to go, and you find somebody that's poor, and they're like, nah, because this and because that. No, nothing. You can. There's an opportunity. This is literally the United States. There's so many opportunities here to be able to do what you do. People just learn to stay stuck in the broke mindset because that's how they're taught. And if that's what you're taught, and then you have children and that's all you know, and you come up in a housing project, who's helping you? You're going to help yourself the best you can, or you're just going to chill. Well, and we see that sometimes. So it's not like you said, is it that they're not trying or they've given up? Some people have. Why? Because that's been modeled.
Well, is what I also think there's been a comfortability that's been pushed on certain people to just back down and just accept it and point your finger or whatever the case may be. If you
don't know your dad, or you knew your dad and your dad went to prison, you know your mom may have a drug problem. Puerto Rican, black, whatever. I don't care what color you are. I'm giving you a situation. And this is the reality of your life. You're raised by siblings or your grandmother. You live in a housing project. The most successful person you know with the coolest car is a drug dealer who eventually goes to jail or gets killed. You have a memorial and you do it again. And your aspiration in life as a young man, 9, 10, 11 years old, is maybe I can make it to 19 or 20 before they kill me. And I hope I can get that 7 Series BMW.
Well, a lot of kids, I could tell you right now, if you think about it, most young brown, I'll just say brown, most young brown kids that grow up in the poverty line, they're going to they're going to come up robbing, selling, whatever they can the fast way, because they already think their life has a limit that's short. So if you notice, I always used to be like, why these motherfuckers got 1 or 2 kids and they ain't even, because they already know they're going to get this girl, they're going to get them pregnant, they're going to do what they're going to do, they're going to be out of here, and it's going to repeat, wash.
Very dangerous thinking.
Yeah, but that's how it's been moving, especially in that area.
So going back to what you said, when we say, so what has the government done? Nothing in that regard.
No.
Right? The government's done nothing, but one particular government did. Right, because we actually saw them. We saw blacks and Hispanics buying more homes than they'd ever bought in American history. The Trump years. We saw them making more money. Everybody, irrespective of color. We started seeing the annual household income be $6,500 per household, where right now it's something like it's down almost $2,200. So when you look at that, you think that's really ultimately, in politics, there's a saying, it's about the money. And when it's not about the money, it's about the money.
I knew he was going to say that.
Let me hang it.
I knew he was going to. And when it's not about the money, it's still about the money.
So if that's the reality, and it takes an orange man bad, right? El Trompito, Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of these United States. It takes him.
So before we go any further, if you don't like any Trump, too bad. You're going to hear about it. Go ahead.
You're going to hear. It takes that guy to leave his penthouse on Fifth Avenue that has his name on it, to leave his supermodel wife and to come to DC to say, well, I know corruption. I've been around the block a few times. I'm going to come here, identify your corruption, and try and stop it so I can change a rigged system that's rigged against you and me so that we can all live well. I think that's fantastic. And they call it MAGA, like he says, right? Now, a lot of people are against him. Why? Because he wants to smack some girl on the booty. He wants to do whatever they want to say he did, right? And I'm not saying he did those things.
Quote, a criminal that's
He's a convicted felon that's now a rapist, misogynist, whatever.
And he got shot.
Yeah, and he got shot. You take all of that and you go, or Biden, or Kamala Harris. who I like to call "Kamala eres," which means how bad she is in Spanish.
Is it? Does that really mean that?
Yeah, that's exactly what it means.
Kamala?
Kamala eres.
Kamala eres.
And how bad you are. And she really is bad because it's not because she's a Democrat. It's not because she's a woman of color. It's not because of anything other than her record. Her record is what she stands on, and it's not a good one. She doesn't have much to stand on.
She was a prosecutor.
She was a district attorney. She was an attorney general.
Okay.
She was a United States senator. And other than saying, I did those things, it sucked. It's like saying, I'm a radio host and I'm nationally syndicated. Great. Do anybody listen to the show? Do you have ratings? Because that's really what it comes down to. What have you done?
Where has she been for the last 4 years? What has she been doing?
Well, she's been in charge of the border for the last 4 years.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. But they don't present her. And sir, you got to say certain vice presidents, they really stay in the cut. But I do remember one vice president that pretty much ran the whole thing. I think his name was Cheney.
Well, Cheney's a G. He's a G. He's part of what my friends like to call the deep state. Right?
I believe that.
These are the guys, like you said before, he went from CIA director to vice president to president of the United States. One could say what a remarkable career path for Ambassador Bush, who was an ambassador before that. Or this guy's in. And he's whatever he is, and he is. And a lot of these things come to light. There's a lot of things. You ever notice how many secrets there are? Like, why don't we know what happened to Kennedy? Why don't we know about so many things?
I think they just put it out not too.
Trump just put it out. Well, he just declassified the majority of that.
I used to listen when JFK came on. If JFK is on, I watch it.
Yeah,
I love that Oliver Stone movie. I love the movie just because it always got me in. That one must have been one of the first movies that got me into the whole conspiracy theory stuff. But they said, I remember when the movie came out in like 1990, they was like, oh, the records of what happened to JFK ain't going to come out till 2015, 2016, they had said. So this is public. And I do understand that the CIA has something to do with it. From what it was. Ultimately,
the CIA has a lot to do with a lot of things. And they're not supposed to be like that. But we have a false sense of security, I think, as Americans.
Oh, yes, a false sense of a lot of things.
Right. and it's kind of like, this is supposed to be good. The teachers are supposed to be nice. We're never going to teach your kids to do bad things. But the reality is we're in a place that's a very different place today.
They don't teach you how to learn. They just teach you how to memorize and regurgitate so you can win.
That wasn't so bad as it is today. I mean, I'm glad my kids are almost 19 and almost 23.
Well, when they were in high school, how different did you notice the teaching from when you were coming up?
Very different, and it's even worse now. And I started noticing when they were in high school, I was like, thank God you're not in third grade. Because I started seeing the shift in how they're teaching kids. They have zero idea about American history, zero
Well, they're
about
trying to
civics.
get rid of a lot of American, quote-unquote, history.
They're also trying to get rid of men and women.
Oh.
And the fact that you can be one or the other.
Do you want to go into this now?
Well, I'm just saying that's a reality. Right, I
not to cut you off. I went to fill something out, and it said male, female. I don't know if it said other. Then it said custom. I said, "What the fuck is this?
Customize.
This is NBA Live. I get to customize my player."
Well, it's to a place where we can joke about it, and it's ridiculous until it's your child. And then we're like, oh, this is pretty serious. Now, like I said, thank God my kids are big and they're just like I react and maybe you react. They think, wow, that's kind of crazy to think that you can pick what you want to be and just be it and till tomorrow and pick something else tomorrow, whichever way TikTok kind of dictates or your teacher. But when I started learning about people doing other undercover work with cameras and finding out that these teachers, mainly in California, were pushing these ideas, like, first of all, they tried to add to the curriculum simple questions for kindergartners, like, when you grow up, do you want to marry a boy or do you want to marry a girl? Why on earth would you ask a kindergartner these questions? Nobody asked me that when I was in kindergarten. I got married to a girl. Maybe because they don't want me to marry a girl, right? So they want to normalize a segment of the population that is a very small segment, right? Out of your boys and your peeps, you might have a gay friend or a trans friend, but it's not as many as your straight friends. Because that's literally how the world works.
It's not a community of them. Like,
that's my point. It is in the minority. Now, whether you have the position or the opinion that that's mental illness, and again, the mental health community said that's a mental illness called gender dysphoria up until about 4 years ago. And then they said, you get to pick. And they changed it from whatever therapy they were offering to now calling it gender affirming care. There was a point in time where if your son felt like he was a girl, that they would see, does he have enough testosterone? Now they go, your son thinks he's a girl, let's give him estrogen, right? It's a very big shift. And I've spoken with doctors who say, I didn't sign up for that. I signed up to help people, not to push an agenda.
First of all, just like one of my co-hosts, shout out to Rylena, she was like, whatever lifestyle you want to live, you can live that. I don't need to know who you fucking or who you in the bed with. You don't need to publicize it. Like, even if you want to be this different, okay, I don't agree with it, but you don't have to infringe on my lifestyle about how I'm doing things and shaming and putting this shame word.
Well, here's the problem with that argument, and that's the one that most people feel comfortable with. And I remember one of my boys once telling me, he's like, bro, I don't care. These people want to do whatever they do.
We can't stop it. So I'm saying don't publicize and don't push it on the kids.
Right, but here the issue with that is that things have to be fair. So for them, they're going to turn to you and be like, why is it that when I'm in public, there's a men's room and a ladies' room? You're pushing your straightness on me because I don't fit the mold.
No. Now this is why. Because you was born and raised in this straight world. Let's be clear. It was already.
That's the argument there. Is it really a straight world?
No. Bullshit. We're not doing that.
I'm with you, but I'm just saying this is where they're at, and that's why I think you have to take a position and say. The one I take, and it's not very popular, but
I'm considered a black man in America. If I walk outside and if I look a certain way or do a certain thing, my life could be over like that. Like, let's be clear. I just said it. When I moved to this neighborhood, literally within that year, cop had a gun to my head. Broad daylight, 2 p.m. broad daylight, summer day. Right? Summer day. What happened? Oh, somebody
you
with your description. What's the description, sir?
Black guy.
No. He didn't even have the nationality of the person. You know what he had? This is summertime, tri-state area. I have a white t-shirt on and a blue hat. That's the Yankees' goddamn colors. How the fuck? But I was a black man in the neighborhood. He didn't expect it. He was in a hot pursuit. He saw somebody that was like, they were already looking for somebody. So they seen me. I'm first to go to. Bullshit apology. Listen, I could have sued them and all that shit. But at that point, we had just moved. I didn't want no problems. I didn't want people fucking with me in this neighborhood or my family.
Yeah.
Because we were one of the first black families in this neighborhood. And this is a cop area. Like the precinct, everybody that works at the precinct lives in the neighborhood. So it's like that. So I could understand, like, I go outside, I have to deal with something every day.
Welcome to Jersey.
Yeah.
Did it go away, or does it happen on a regular basis?
No, I had one other interaction with a cop pulling me over, but other than that, we was fine. Nobody.
It sounds like a mistake.
But also, I know how to move in this area and how not to move. You know what I mean? I figured out, like, all right, I'm not making myself like, yeah, go do something. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But I'm still aware. I only deal with certain neighbors, only deal with certain stores. I don't make myself visible to anybody out here that might see, like, what is he doing? But plus, there's more black and brown people in this neighborhood now.
Right.
So I'm talking about when I moved. So for them to say, oh, well, what makes this a straight world? No, man, this is a straight world. We all came in this world with certain things against us. Certain other people had less. So that's just how it goes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And you got to deal with what you got.
Yeah.
And I get that. But my point is, this is ultimately how truth gets bent. Right? Truth gets bent, and we create these narratives that make people feel good or bad, right? And create a certain emotion, right? You had an experience that arguably was not a pleasant one, but one that I would hope doesn't continue all the time, because if it did, then we're like, all right, we got a problem here, bro. I've lived on this block for 10 years and you keep stopping me thinking I'm fitting the description. That's definitely some BS.
But listen,
if it goes away, then it's a good thing. That means things are working, right? And I get that. I dealt with that growing up too. And I still, There's if I go on TV, I'll throw on some suspenders. I'll throw on a tie.
I know the suspenders.
Sometimes I won't turn it. I'll take the tie off and just to rock my necktie to mess up the conservative news world, because I'm a conservative and I work in the news.
How light are you in that? How I'm gonna say light, but how the atmosphere as being a known Republican, not being a white Republican. How do you feel any? Is there any difference? I think a lot of people are afraid or just feel like Republicans are just open bigots.
Yeah, I get mad love. I always have from conservatives. Conservatives are typically God-fearing, friendly people for the most part.
God-fearing.
They're just like, oh, great.
Yeah, see, that's what I don't like. I don't like the pat, but I'll take it because they gotta feel you out.
No, but they're not always white. It could be Indians, it could be blacks, it could be whomever. But it's always give me a hug. They're like, welcome to the party, welcome to the family. We're all Americans. We all bleed red, white, and blue. That's kind of like the vibe you get. Now, do I get discriminated against when I go to certain places? And they're like, "What'd you hit your head?"
They tell you shit like that?
I get that vibe though. You know, I some people tell me like, "What's wrong with you? Would you hate yourself? Are you like a self-hating Hispanic? You don't."
But let's be clear. Let's be clear. I was raised with a lot of Puerto Ricans in the Bronx. A lot, just Puerto Ricans. I didn't know the difference with the Dominicans at first. I was like, okay,
they didn't have them first. They came later.
But let's be clear. There are a lot of Puerto Ricans that not just turn to the right, but I think they feel more embraced maybe by a conservative white man or a conservative person that might be white than even if you raise brown. I think it's just hold on. I think it's easier for certain Puerto Ricans or Hispanics to kind of get into that because there are a lot of Republicans, aren't they?
Yes, but I don't know if it has anything to do with that. I think.
Well, tell me.
I think when it comes to Hispanics, it's a bigger question. But Puerto Ricans in particular, none of us are immigrants, right? We're all born Americans, so we don't have the immigrant things like a Cuban would, like a Dominican would. Right?
But
that's.
But how many generations are you like from Puerto Rico?
Everybody in my family was born a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, but when like a grandmother was born
in the War of 1812. So I guess prior to 1812.
Yeah.
You know, and my roots go back to Spain, which is European. I guess white. Right?
Well, no,
most Puerto Ricans,
European.
Their roots go back to Spain.
Yeah, I believe it's a mixture between Spaniard, Europeans,
it is,
and something else.
But it's the more Spaniard of the islands.
Oh yeah, I would believe so.
Right? I saw something the other day that said something like 60-something%. And it was a racial thing. They were trying to say Puerto Ricans are really white people. That's what they were trying to say. Well, meanwhile, you look at me and you look at the size of my nose and the size of my lips, and you're not really white people.
But listen, if you're going to the same place, right, and I'm going to the same place, and we're Republicans, you're gonna feel that way. But do you think I'm really gonna get that? I think I'm gonna get more of that energy.
I think they'll love you even more.
Well, they'll want me, yes, but they'll still be like, they might still question it.
I don't know. I think you should go to a Trump rally and see the love. I'm just saying. It's a very interesting phenomenon. I don't.
Now there's a lot of black folks that's going to rallies.
I don't frequent Trump rallies. I think I've been to many speeches that Trump has done at like conferences and things like that. But I've been to one rally, the one he did in the South Bronx. It's the only
you were there?
Yeah, it's the only one I've ever.
You know that caused a lot of flack when he asked those rappers to come up there.
They were there.
I know it was a lot of like, yeah.
They were there, and they were trying. They were like, I want to be in the front row.
Now
look, like, oh, come on up.
Yeah, Sleepy Hollow and Chef.
They were very happy to be there. I bumped into one of them while I was walking. I was walking to the media section, which is in the back.
You know, they got kicked off of Summer Jam because of that. That's how crazy it is. This is how
that's discrimination.
Look. Rosenberg, which I don't like, from Hot 97, a Jewish man that works in the
I ain't against the Jewish.
No.
I'm against him being against the black guy.
No. Why does he have the power to say, nah, y'all shouldn't be on the thing? They were set to be on Summer Jam.
But it's the other guy, Ebro. He's really the shot caller.
He's half.
No, but I'm saying he's the shot caller there. He's the boss of that.
Yeah. Ebro is a black and Jewish man, and I just took it away. I was just like, why are you saying that?
I didn't know that they were kicked off. If I would have made a big deal on the radio, and I would have brought it up.
No. It came out of Rosenberg's mouth first. I don't know if they backed it specifically, but I just like, why are you doing that? Just because?
Yeah, stop hating.
And this is the thing I'm seeing a lot, right? Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not. I guess you would call me a neutral guy, but I like Trump. I like Trump since the 80s. Trump has always been the same person, and that's been my fight with a lot of people that don't like Trump. I was like, he's been the same person. So you can't he's just on a bigger plateau.
Yeah.
So his voice is going to be louder than what it was. Right? You know what I mean?
G.
Yeah. So I have no issue with him, but I always was like, I see a lot of Democrats, I hate to say like black Democrats, I can't really say white or any other, that they're really on some, if you're not with us, like it's funny because I said this online the other day. I said, it seems as though a lot of Democrats are sounding very old Republicans. Like, you know how
what you were told Republicans were. And again, this is my own little self-discovery that I found. I've never been discriminated politically against by anybody other than Democrats. They've always treated me pretty bad. Historically. I mean, as an adult. So I've been an adult for 20 some odd years. And that's always been the case. Never had a Republican be like, oh, no, because you're this or because no. It's always been Democrats. They're like, why would you want to support this? Pre-Trump. Pre-Trump.
Well, what were the Republicans in who do we have? We had the Bush.
Yeah, George W. Bush.
Yeah.
But it wasn't about who was president. It was just generally, there was like the word on the street was, if you're a Republican, you're bad.
Yeah, well, as a kid, as a black kid, I was always told, like, if you vote Democrat.
Propaganda.
Yeah, vote Democrat. And I always used to go in there like, I don't know what none of these names, I don't
know these people.
I don't know these people. At least let me figure out what was going on. Like, I voted for Obama the first time because of all the hubbub. And after that, I was like, why did I even what did he mainly do specifically for anybody that's brown? And my mom was always say he tried. I was like, I understand that whole try stuff, but do or do not. Like, if you're put in a position and being quoted as the first black president and have the majority of black people endorse you, promote you, put you in that power.
Come through
on something.
Yeah. Trump came through on the
historically
black college and universities. Right?
HBCUs.
HBCUs. Trump came through for them.
But now the HBCUs is going to go for your girl because she's from one.
Maybe.
Howard.
Maybe. We'll see. I think, again, a friend of mine in the game was locked up. He called me. I was working local radio in New York City. And he calls me, and my nickname growing up was Fader because I gave fades. He's like, yo, Fader.
Fat Fader.
Yeah. And so I get, you have a collect call from whatever correctional. Yeah, I take a call. I'm like, yo, what's up, man? And he's like, yo. Before he went in, we had lunch. A few of us. And he was like, and he had already done some pre-trial time inside. So he was like, Fader, I'm going to school you. I was like, oh, you are? Okay. And he's like, yeah. I was like, why? How? And he was like, I've been watching MSNBC and CNN all day in the day room. I was like, oh, all right.
Day room talk.
And he's like, yo, back before you knew everything about politics, but now I'm gonna school you. I was like, all right. So he starts giving me all this stuff straight off the news.
Okay.
And most of it was inaccurate. But I was just like, I'm so glad you're engaged. I'm really glad
you're just happy that he's engaged with it.
I'm glad you're paying attention because I've always believed, because I learned it that way. I had a cell phone store and I had a barber shop, and the politician was knocking at my door. Politics touches a part of everybody's life. How your kid eats in school, what type of taxes you pay, what kind of school you get for your kid. Everything is involved somehow in your life and our lives. Politics. So we're talking about all this stuff, and we're having this big argument. I'm like, bro, you're just full of it. You're just wrong. You're making things up. And he's like, what? So he goes, he's in. They move him, like, you know how many jails do, and he's Puerto Rican.
Yeah, you
so
move
he's
to
in the
different
Hispanic
spot,
section. He goes, They moved me to the Moreno spot. I got all these brothers here, bro. Man love for your boy. And I said, I'm like, what? Tell me more. I'm trying to record it, you know? Yeah, I'm trying to get on my cell phone, be like, yeah, I want to put this on the radio. And he's like, yo, man love for your boy. And I'm like, who? He's like, Trump, bro. And I'm like, what? He's like, bro, I'm in a
When
tier.
did this happen?
This was 2019.
Okay.
He's like, I'm in a tier with a bunch of Bloods and Crips that have peace. Because in jail, as long as you black, you good. And I'm like the only Puerto Rican in here. Because I had a fight with some dude in the Puerto Rican part and whatever, and they put me over here. I was like, all right. And he's like, yo, he's got all the dudes that run this. They're telling me my baby's mom just got their sentence cut. My brother's getting out early. This one's happening.
He did do a lot of that.
And he said, these people, I was, forget what he was saying. I was like, they're talking about politics in jail? Like, I had no idea.
Well, the politics are affecting them. And they're seeing it.
Right.
They're seeing it.
And that
See,
was
a lot of times
for me.
Can I say this? A lot of times as a kid growing up, I never seen the politics work.
Right.
I seen the politics talk. I always call it politics. It's like, all right, they just, they're going to tell you a good game. They're going to get something out of you, and they're going to do whatever they want to do at the end of the day.
Lip service.
Yeah. So you're right. There was a lot happening with Trump's first run in office, and a lot of known people were getting off, or he was helping them out, or jobs were up, and it was money. It
came home.
Yeah,
they tried to keep him in Sweden.
Yeah. That thing. Yeah, when he in Sweden, they rules over there was probably crazy too. You know, so it's like I could see the difference, and it's like I call it President AARP because he's President AARP. He's been that. It's like you knew he was going to have to bail out. Yeah,
well, no doubt. I can't believe he won, and I won't go there today.
Well, no.
I don't believe he did.
Oh, you mean generally?
Yeah, 81 million votes with the popularity that Trump had.
It was a popular. Did Trump win a popularity vote?
I don't think Republicans ever win the popularity vote.
Are they going to win this time?
Maybe.
They had a chance?
Maybe.
With Biden, they definitely had a chance
I think the popular vote doesn't get anybody elected, right? It's the Electoral College that does. And that's how you have to run your campaign, because that's what's in the Constitution. That's how you become president. It's a competition of states, and each state has their assigned number.
It's like Rotten Tomatoes. You have like the audience review and you have the critics review.
Yeah, but one counts.
Those
both count. Yeah. And again, that's another, when I said they've made it normal to bend the truth. The idea that we even talk about the popular vote is the stupidest thing ever.
Why is it then? Why is it popular vote there if it's not going to happen?
It's not there.
It's just been made?
It's just conversation.
It's like the Viewer's Choice Awards? It's like a Viewer's Choice Award.
Not even. That's a real award. The popular vote has no bearing on our government. Right? The Constitution ratified 1789 has no mention of a popular vote ever. Any documents that started this country. Every election we've ever had is about the Electoral College. Since George Washington to Joe Biden. How we do this. So when somebody starts going, well, you won the legit way, but I got more votes. Doesn't matter. And we knew that. That's the whole reason we have the Electoral College, because some states are big. And if Ohio has this many people and California has millions and gazillions of people, then guess who's going to always win? All you got to do is be like, we got to win California, and we win the whole thing. That's called the tyranny of the majority. It's exactly what this country was started to fight against. That was the reason for the revolution.
Well, I have to say, whatever what this country was based on, we ended up turning back to that.
I agree that we've gone away from our roots, and we should always work to get back to them. And I think that's like any person, right? You know, like I just started working out like a month in.
Shout out to you losing weight, man.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, I was 269 pounds. Took me a long time.
How long were you in that frame?
I've been on this journey since 2017.
Okay.
Actually, really 2012. I started dropping some weight, but I got aggressive in 2017. I did lose some weight between 20.
And it would fluctuate and whatever.
And it was like, I got divorced. I lost some weight, and I was like, all right, I'm good at 240. I wasn't good at 240.
And you're 5 what?
I'm 5'8".
I'm 5'9", so yeah, we're the
like it ain't working.
You know, we're supposed to. Our premium weight is supposed to be like around 160.
Yeah,
somewhere around there. Yeah.
I hit 185 recently.
Okay.
I was like, "Woo, man, pimping!" But I brought that up to say that every day I have to try to be the best that I can be. Right. Same thing with this stuff. People are kind of disposed to do the wrong thing sometimes, and you got to correct these behaviors. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier, that if you're taught certain things and you're taught that this person is limiting your, my podcast ain't doing good because of attention whores, it's BS. I'm not going to get fat off of what you eat.
But
that's the reality.
That's thinking like on some networking thing. Like I can only see that like in like network ABC, CBS. They would,
that's the Cuban guy saying that
don't
get it pop off in Cuba because of the United States.
No, that's a weak excuse. I'm saying it makes more sense when you're dealing with the broadcasters.
Right. You can make it make sense.
Well, because they're saying that this audience is going to this.
Right. Yeah. But the reality is, if you're good, people coming to you.
That's true.
Right. I was mentored by a guy, just as an aside, mentored by a guy named John Batchelor. Shout out to John Batchelor. He's on the radio. He's been on the radio for 20 some odd years. And John Batchelor taught me a lot, and he's on in the same time slot that I'm on now.
Oh, okay, really?
Right. So now we're competitors in a way.
Do you have a similar talking points or anything like that?
He's a Princeton educated 7-foot white dude, very smart, very, very, very highly educated, high pedigree, super nice guy. Talks about aliens. He talks about rockets. He talks about the economy.
Okay.
Talks about a lot. Not so much about aliens, history, a lot of history. I talk about other stuff. I talk about politics.
Other than politics, because I know you're heavy. I met you. It was politics.
I like it because that's a big part of the news.
Handball?
Handball. Pickleball.
Let's look at the handball.
I like hip hop. I like reggaeton. We talk about that a little bit every now and again. But typically just anything I think people can grab onto, because the audience was really kind of pioneered by Larry King. Is an older audience, about 5 million listeners every night. So it's a big deal. And Jim Bohannon held on to that audience. He was Larry King's news guy and carried the torch. And then he retired, and by the grace of God, they picked this Puerto Rican kid from Brooklyn to come on to this big show. So I'm like, oh, snap, let's go. I talk about lots of things. We start with the news, whatever is in the news. So the news can be about anything. And there's so many things in politics that transcend into news. The border, this, that, and the other. Last night we were talking about houses are being built smaller now than they were in years past. Why? Of course, I wear my political glasses on everything. I'm like, that's because of Joe Biden, right? Because of Joe Biden. Because of inflation.
Everything in the last 4 years.
Well, a 2x4 now costs, I don't know, $10 for a 2x4. It used to be $4.
Let's be clear.
So I'm building a smaller house.
It's been heavy in inflation.
Yeah.
It's been heavy inflation.
But there was more on that. There's also the social aspect of it, right? The cultural aspect of it. I still am. I believe in marriage. I think marriage is a good thing. I think people should get married. The tax code still honors married people.
It's a business.
No, I think it's the foundation of society.
But it's based off of
forget the business. Kids that come from married homes do better. They're smarter. They're more emotionally healthy. They don't need therapy.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
So ultimately, and men, we do better when we're married.
You got good motivation, a good backbone.
You got a good everything. It is the better situation.
Other than that, you run in the streets.
Attention whoring. So I believe in that. But today, I'd say 15 years ago, the big debate was, it's just a piece of paper. 15 years later, today now, nobody even talks about marriage. Now it's like, what do you identify as? Right? So you see how the needle moves. Not in a good way. This isn't helping people. It's not like all of a sudden this revolution is like, wow, we've got more millionaires. We've got more people figuring out the cure for cancer. Less people are mentally ill. No, all the opposite. People are more sick. People are mutilating their bodies to change their gender and then regretting it when they turn 20.
I mean, men and women are doing that. Women are doing it more because the whole surgery thing has been the go-to. Like, remember back in the day, a couple years ago, getting surgery was like, not really. That's for certain people. Now everyone's getting surgery.
Talking about a BBL?
Yeah, the BBL. Yeah. Now I'm saying from the trans and the BBLs, like everyone's doing all this alterations to themselves.
Dr. Miami has really made things easier for a lot of people.
No Is he still doing it?
I don't think he has a show, but I think he's making a killing.
Oh yeah, well,
and God bless him. I mean, I think if people want to enhance themselves, great. I'm in the gym. That's where I'm at. If I don't get the results I want in the gym,
buying the abs?
Dr. Miami, buying the abs? Like, Dr. Miami, you got a spot in Medellin, Colombia? I heard I can get a 6-pack for about $1,500.
That's a cheap.
In Colombia, everything's cheap. Yeah, I got this ink in Colombia.
With the tat?
Yeah, 9 hours, $300.
What? For that?
And that's a lot of detail.
That's easily 6 or more.
Well, I got it priced at $1,200 to $1,500 everywhere.
That looks newer. How? When did you get that done?
In January.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's nice.
My point was the economies are robust in these countries, and they're killing it. They're cranking it out. It's a very busy shop, beautiful shop.
Tourism is up.
Yeah, lots of things going on there. Of course, there's things that are dangerous for certain people. Like if you're in the trade of women or drugs, don't do it there because they already do that there.
Or lose your organs and shit.
Yeah. That's. But otherwise, it's very secure. Because they protect their tourism. They protect the people that go there to eat, to visit, to enjoy the culture. Hip hop, huge in Medellin. Huge. You want to talk about, like, you just walk to the store and you see a cipher on the corner.
Oh, they're in it,
and then they come up to you for a tip, and they'll include you in it.
Well, Medellin is always like my introduction to that has been the drug trade. Yeah. From get-go.
They're trying to shed that. I mean, almost everybody I talk to, they're like, bro, we're a lot more than
a documentary or a movie.
Yeah,
Griselda,
amazing food.
Yeah.
It really was a good trip. I forgot how we even got onto that one.
I don't know. We were talking about people and altering their bodies.
Oh yeah, altering their bodies. Yeah. So ultimately, I think the needle has moved on the conversation. And these are moral, I think, debates, right? Or cultural debates that people have to have. And ultimately, if the closer you are to God, I think the better you are in life. Some people take exception to that because that's what we've been taught to have. Most colleges aren't teaching about God. They're teaching about atheism and why God is this imaginary friend for grown-ups. But ultimately, people that have faith...
atheism? Are they being taught that, or is that coming down the line?
No, what's being taught is, at least from many perspectives, are Marxist theories, Karl Marxist theories. And Karl Marx became an atheist.
Oh, got you.
Because
so it comes down the line.
In order for his theory of the Communist Manifesto to come to pass, the only way it worked was if you didn't believe in something higher than yourself. You had to believe in yourself, principally. You are the end all. So if I am the end all, then my needs are met by the government. The minute I believe that I eat because God provides,
because I can understand it to a point. I don't know, but I believe that we are all a part of something bigger. You know what I mean? I believe that what you could call God or the creator or whatever. But when you're saying you're the all being, this is it, and now the government has rule over that, right? Pretty much.
Or providence, right?
Providence.
I eat because they provide.
Well, because you don't have your land and your farm to
You're
provide for yourself.
If they don't let you.
I know, right?
Even here now, right? We're selling farms to China left and right. And other farms, Bill Gates, it's not even China now. Bill Gates is buying out farms to destroy the farm.
Oh, yeah. But that whole farm thing has been in play for some years now. Like, Because I could tell
it's a long-term plan.
I could tell the difference from as kids coming up to now. You could taste the difference in the food.
Sure.
Eat processed or not, you could tell the difference.
And you could just go on a vacation.
And you eat.
And you'd be like, wow. What'd you do? Like, oh, we just grabbed it off a tree.
Yeah,
like, yeah, that's good. So with all of these changes that are happening, I think it's more important now for people to realize maybe a godless society where the government is in charge of everything is not what's best for us. Maybe individual liberty, personal responsibility. Let me open my barbershop. Let you have your podcast. Let's do our own thing. Let's give the government a little bit less money, less taxes. Tax cuts for the rich? Sure. Tax cuts for the poor? Sure. Tax cuts for everybody? Sure. Because ultimately, I think less taxes means less fuel for the government. A smaller government's a safer government, and less money for them means more money for me.
Is that, I know that's what you want. Is that what you think we will be able to get to at some point.
No, I don't believe that. I think you have, if you've ever had a girlfriend or a wife, right, a relationship, you want peace and harmony all the time with shorty, and that's what you want. But that's not always what you get, right? The argument is inevitable. Babe, what do you want to eat? I don't know. Let's go to Chick-fil-A. I don't want to go to Chick-fil-A.
You know what?
That's inevitable.
But bust it. I understand where you come from, and I do agree. Babe, let's go somewhere. Because she ain't going to know where she want to go anyway. You have to make that decision.
That's my.
You have to make that decision.
And that is why I like El Trompito, because he comes in and he says, we're doing these things. We're doing this. NATO, you got to carry your own fair share. We're not going to pay you anymore to just sit there and pay the lion's share of things when you're the one that's getting invaded by Russia, not us. I love that. They were like, how dare you talk to us like that? And he was like, I did.
Oh, yeah.
And it messed everybody up.
Listen, didn't he go, all right, wasn't there a big hubbub when Trump first, I don't know, this is when he was going for a second term, when he was in Puerto Rico, and they just had the, yes.
He should have been in the NBA.
Paper towels or whatever the fuck he was throwing. But there was a big ordeal, like when that had happened.
Was there a big ordeal?
No, they tried to make it a big ordeal.
They being the media again. Yeah. The media, and I'm going to call them the left, right? The left wing within the movement on the ground in Puerto Rico. I met people that were in that room, and they were like, bro, that was the coolest thing. Trump was like this, and they were like, yeah. People were feeling the energy. Then afterwards, they were like, the haters get on TV right outside the thing, but I can't believe he comes here and he's throwing stuff, doesn't have the decency to do. There's always going to be a hater.
You know what? That reminds me of something real quick, and we're going to get into some other stuff, and we good. But it reminds me, this white man was dressed up with a sombrero and a mustache, like he was Mexican, and the poncho and all that.
Social media video?
Yeah, you seen this one?
Yeah, I have.
And he's going around, and all the white people are saying, Well,
no, he goes.
A
white lady.
Well, he went to people that wasn't Mexican, right? He went to everybody that wasn't Mexican, and they said that's insensitive. You shouldn't be doing that. And then all the people that wasn't Mexican, and then he went to Mexicans. And they was like, we have no problem with that.
Yeah, the one lady was like, I think you look so good like that.
and that's how it sounds to me. It sounds like that. But you're gonna have certain cultures that doesn't bother them. I think they get that play off of the whole Black American aspect. Because if you know, yo man, it could seem sometimes is accepting to have someone act like us, and sometimes we could see it as, oh, you're trying to make fun of it. So I could see that duality. Sure. I could see that duality.
That exists in everything.
But that's still not their place because it's not their culture, I think.
I don't know. Listen to me. I'm going to tell you something. I am not Japanese, and I like sushi.
But do you go hong kong when you do it? When you do it?
But guess what? I went to Bad Bunny's sushi place, and I ate with chopsticks. You're going to tell me I'm culturally appropriate? No, but that's how you do.
No, but that's not eating with chopsticks.
If you're taught to be outraged, you're going to be outraged. If you're taught that, can you believe he threw that thing? And you want to go with that, you're going to believe that. If you're like, bro, we were dying, and I didn't see Bill Clinton here. I didn't see Barack Obama here. I didn't see any U.S. president in Puerto Rico ever handing out supplies ever.
This one he was trying to go for a second.
No, this one he was in office.
First term, he was in office. Okay, I get the time frame.
And Hurricane Maria, and yet here we have El Trompito on the ground rocking his 45 hat, and he's like, "Yo, here we go. Check this out." It's all perspective, and I think kudos to him for being there. And seeing what was going on, because that's where you're able to see that. And then people said, "Oh, he said that there were corrupt politicians in Puerto Rico." You're damn right. There's some corrupt politicians in Puerto Rico. Trump gave, I forget, it was $1.5 billion, whatever the number was. And then he was like, "I hope the people get this money," because it seemed like they were going to skim off the top and be like, "Oh, your agency's going to get this. We're going to hire overtime. We're going to do this." Everybody was, and we saw the proof, right? When they found the containers with water, huge containers, and it was expired. Not expired, it was melting because the plastic was melting because they didn't unload it. So the supplies were getting there, and it was mismanagement. And that's what Trump was talking about. Same thing with Zelensky. When he got impeached for his perfect phone call, right? And when he got impeached for that, he was telling them, they were like, "Yo, send us some rockets because we got to keep Putin. You know, he's trying to flex on us." And they were like, he was like, "I just want to make sure that you're going to do the right thing." And they were like, "Oh, he's trying to strong arm Zelensky. Strong arm him how? He wanted to make sure he wasn't going to get robbed." Because in that part of the world, this is very, very common. And we can see now. Trump was holding back some supplies. Biden's like this. Make it rain with a little gold gun with your tax dollars, giving Zelensky everything and anything. And that money's making its way back. If you follow the money,
Ukraine and
some of that money's finding its way, right? And guess where? Into Democrat-run political campaigns, coming straight from the Ukraine. So it's just fascinating to me that these things are happening. Nothing that happens on the street does not happen in Washington. Everything that you've seen on the street happens in Washington, but with guys that refuse to dirty their hands.
Well, some do. Some don't.
Yeah, but for the most part, that they will smile and they will lie. And that's how politics works.
And that's been my thing. Like, I always said when it came to Trump, I respect him. I know he's been racist and done racist shit and done shit that people don't like, but I respect him being himself. Like, he's never... I don't like anybody, like, if you come to me, hey, no problem, and then you go back, yo, I don't really... Like, be straight up with me. I respect it, even though I don't have to agree with everything you're doing.
Right. Well, sure. That's called tolerance, right? Yeah. We tolerate people. I don't think Trump is racist, though. Just for I mean, I grew up seeing him.
I mean, I gotta go back with that because
Central Park 5.
Oh, that's definitely racist. But I'm just saying, generally speaking, how do I say this? Everybody has a little bit, if not racism, because racism comes with oppression when it comes to brown people. So I can't, like, they'll say, if I say something towards somebody, it'll be like, you're being racist. I say, how? I don't have any power to stop anything they're doing. I might be seeming prejudiced as what I'm saying, but I can't point that person out in a racist form and something happened to that person. But if another person that isn't my shade, that's lighter, does that to me, something could happen to me or anybody else that's brown like me. That's where I see the difference. You understand it?
No, I get the dynamic of how these things work. I just when it comes to certain things, I think if I'm robbed by a white guy and I'm robbed by a black guy, and if I say, man, I freaking hate this guy, and then they go, oh, that's racist. Why? Because the guy that robbed me was black? I don't think it has to do with what color they are. No. And that's my point. I think when Central Park 5, just as a point, and when Trump puts this article and saying these people are thugs, they're this and that, I don't think he's doing it because they're black. He's doing it because he doesn't want that type of crime in the city.
They were black.
They were Puerto Rican too.
Yeah, but there was a couple. How many Puerto Rican? Look. If it's two or more black people. And then some Puerto Ricans, we're black.
Yeah. No, I'm with that. But my point is, I think had they been Albanian, had they been Chinese, nobody would have accepted Wyland in the park.
If they were
white, Nazi skin.
No. Let's get the straight out of college and out of high school, college frat boy, white boys that did some, because they've done stuff like that in college.
Raping a girl in the Central Park.
Yeah.
I think that it would have been the same exact thing. And I think that people would have been like, yo, we're talking
about late 80s New York. Who's the mayor? Koch?
Listen, I grew up in New York in the late 80s. I can tell you this. If I saw 5 white boys in Central Park that fit that description, I'd be like, yo, watch out, they might rape you. Right, that would have been my perception if that were the story. Just like when the Duke lacrosse players got falsely accused, that became a thing, and people were like, "Yo, watch out for the white boys because they be trying to root for you, and they do this and do that." It was a thing. People will watch out for whatever they're told to watch out for. So I can't. Rosa Parks Award for President Trump, the Don King, Mike Tyson. 50 Cent, so many people that just love this guy and always been by his side. I don't think they think it's because he's racist.
No. You take, I said on the last podcast, he's been the symbol. Racist? No, he's been the symbol of wealth in America for 40 some odd years, right? everybody in this country or in this world for most wants to
want to get money like Trump.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why he's in every video. That's why he's in that. So when he comes out and he becomes president and he's talking the rhetoric that y'all don't like, they're gonna go against him. But of course, he was the person that y'all wanted in your video because it made you look official. It made you look like, yeah, you getting money, you standing right by it. That's how these people are thinking when they're coming up. But now it's like, oh, you're running a country. He's a businessman at the end of the day. Good or bad, he's a businessman. And America is a corporation, and he's going to run it as so, whether you like him or not.
I agree with all of that. The only thing I don't agree with is I don't think Kamala Harris is a racist. I didn't say
she was a racist.
No, and I don't think Donald Trump is a racist. I haven't seen any evidence of the Joe Biden. I think there's some there's a long history of Klan.
There's recordings of him talking wild.
Right. So and that's the distinction I make. Bill Clinton, no. I've never seen anything like that. I don't think
Bill Clinton he's
a racist.
But I'll tell you this.
He signed Biden's bill.
I tell you this, Bill Clinton's a slick motherfucker. Like, he knows how to play the game. He knows how to play the game. He knows how to play the game. That's why, you know, there's been talk of him with certain other situations, but we don't have to go into that. But yeah, man. The COVID thing. COVID came back for Biden out of the blue. How that happened? What happened to the COVID results?
Up until yesterday, I was dating this girl for a year. She dumped me on our anniversary.
Are you serious? Or you both?
No, I'm straight up. It wasn't an ugly thing though.
Wait, you dated a girl and she dumped you on the anniversary?
Yeah. It just happened to be that way. So she was probably going to dump me a few days earlier.
Women always dump you a month before you get dumped anyway.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So, but I say that to say she was just in Dominican Republic on a vacation with her mom and her daughter, and everybody was getting COVID over there. So, and they were fine. They were literally on vacation like this, sipping Mai Tais by the pool. They didn't feel good when they came back, but they weren't, it wasn't the end of the world. COVID is a thing. I think Trump was brutalized for saying it's a Chinese flu and it's like a cold, and they hated him for saying that, right? Well, see, but all of a sudden, look. Even the CDC says it's
even
a cold.
The terminology. It could be sit as racist, even though he's not putting it there.
No, I disagree, and I'm going to tell you why. Because
how not?
Because they have named every flu after the country it came from for the last 100 years.
Okay, you want to what? Ebola. What else we got?
The Spanish flu, and that was the last big flu that was like this.
We had Spanish fly though too.
Now they got Tusi.
Oh, Tusi is the new shit?
That's the new Spanish fly.
Oh my God. Don't tell Cosby. Anyway.
Security. Ultimately, what my point was, does Biden get COVID? Maybe he does. Is he 80? Yeah, 81. So is COVID more dangerous at that age? Yes.
I would say
is he already not great? Yes. So does all of that make a bad situation? Yeah. In my opinion, if Biden gets COVID, Kamala should be president.
Well, they're not.
No, not forever. Just until he gets better.
No, they did say that. They was like, well, why didn't he just stand down? And it was like, well, he's still the president until when? January or something?
Yeah, January 20th.
Yeah,
next year.
He's still the president until then. And she's running, so they don't want to have her be president.
Right, now it's a conflict of interest.
Yeah,
I get that. Yeah. But before that, that would have been ideal. I think the right thing to do, because that is something that could incapacitate.
Do you think he should have just should have endorsed her from the get-go?
I'll tell you exactly what I think. If I were a Democrat and I were advising them, I would have done this. I would have said, hey, my name's Joe Biden. And it's my word as a Biden. I got hairy legs.
You got to take more time. You can't be that fast. You sound like AI.
That's true. Right? AI Biden. But I would have said, it's been my honor and pleasure to serve as president. It's been my honor and pleasure to serve with Vice President Trump. I mean, Harris.
You're right.
And I picked her because I said, I want a woman of color to be the first vice president woman of color, first female vice president. I did that. Joe Biden did that. And my parting gift to you all as Americans is I am going to step aside from the presidency because I don't feel terrific, but she's up for the task. And I'm giving America its first woman president. Hold the alarm and sound the alarms. I'm giving America their first woman president. first black woman president, and that happened because of me, Joe Biden. And he would have taken the high road, and the media would have been like, Joe Biden making history. His legacy would have been secured.
That would have boosted a lot.
And she'd be president. She's got 3 months of being president, not running for president. Running for president in 3 months of a campaign that's typically 15 to 20 months long. Crazy to think you're going to do it in 3. Right? Because she'll be nominated by the 22nd of August.
Yeah.
November 5th. You got
August,
September, October. And you don't have all of August.
Yeah, so 2.5.
So you literally have 3 months at best. He would have cemented his thing. I got freaking dementia. I can't do it. I got to go. She would be president. She would be having meetings. Now, here it's me and Zelensky. It's me here. I'm president of the United States. And now her campaign is, we sent the woman to the White House. Help me do it again. Join me. And people would have been like, yeah, I want to cast a vote for the first woman president.
Her slogan is, we're never going back. To what?
We're never going back.
That's the slogan now. That's going to be the slogan. She said it.
For Trump?
No, her.
Yeah. We're not going back to Trump.
Oh, I guess that's what it's supposed to be meaning? Oh, okay.
Well, that's great. I would use that against her, and I would go, we're never going back to $6,500 annual household incomes. We're never going back to lower tax rates. We're never going back to 1.4, 1.25 inflation, which was all 4 years of Trump. Those are things I want to go back to badly. I like to go to Miami. I like to go away on the weekends every now and again. This weekend, I'm going to go to Puerto Rico, which is a very expensive trip.
You're good at, I could tell you're radio made, like I could see it, like you're on point with everything, but you would be like, as like someone in the campaign, have you done?
Well, I've done, I told you, I worked for Governor Christie. I worked in government. I've done that, but radio is my love. I love radio. I love the fact that I can hide. I got a face for radio. I love the fact that, I'm not always dripped out like that. Sometimes I'm wearing...
Suspenders is coming, you know what I mean?
That's only for TV. when I'm just doing radio, I got a T-shirt on. Sometimes in the summertime, I'm not even wearing a shirt. Don't tell nobody. Security.
Okay, so let's get to it real quick before this guy has to go. I know he has things to go real quick. So they tried to assassinate
El Trompito, Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of the United States.
And a lot of people tried to say it was staged, it was fake. And that's when I got upset.
That's crazy.
Because I was like, now everyone's a conspiracy theorist. Stay in your lane. Let me...
Imagine the expert sniper you need to be like, he's going to turn his head. Right when he turns his head for a second, knock a piece of his ear off. I mean, what if you go wrong and you kill him by accident?
Nah, that was it.
I mean, come on. It's crazy to think it was fake and
staged. A man died. Yeah. And did someone else get shot or something?
They were in the hospital dying for almost a week. I interviewed the guy who put pressure on the wound with the ER doctor for the firefighter chief that died. And black guy from that neck of the woods. And he's a Air Force vet. And I'm not the best judge of everything, but this guy was telling the truth. As he was telling the story, he was like, he was messed up. That's not fun. My brother got stabbed when I was a little kid, and I saw him bleeding out. And
that's gotta be some scary shit.
It is.
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm saying. What to do? How far?
You freak out. And when I heard that guy talking, I felt that energy, and I was like, yeah, he's not lying. He was doing the best he could, and it's horrible. The dude was protecting his daughter and his wife, who was sitting next to him, because he heard the shots. He covered them. He took the hit in his head. Damn. The ER doctor came to apply the pressure on the wound was in his head.
Jesus Christ.
And the ER doctor came and was like, there was brain matter on the bleachers. So he was...
It was one other guy, I think a white guy that was helping somebody else. He had blood all over his shirt from doing it and everything. Because he did I think an interview there a little bit after.
Yeah, that's the ER doctor. Oh, okay. The white guy. And then the black guy is the Air Force veteran that helped him with putting pressure on the guy's head.
Yeah, that was a banana situation, but yeah.
I think just to get to where you're going with this, I think when we look at the facts, Donald Trump announces he's running for president, and he gets laughed at by Hillary Clinton, by Nancy Pelosi, by Democrat establishment. Barack Obama, he'll never win. He'll never become president. Boom. Trump believed it too, I believe. Because if you look at his face when they go, you won, he goes... he looked like, oh snap!
Let's be clear. He said it. He said, if I ever run for president, I'm gonna do da 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 da. He did insult Republicans at the time, but yeah, he said that. So and he did it.
So he runs for, and now they're like, oh snap! we screwed up. We've now lost the presidency to a guy who's an outsider who doesn't do this thing that we do. In my opinion, Washington's a mafia, and everybody's divvying it up, right? They're divvying up the whatever there is to divvy up. Contracts for military, this, that. It's all about money. You know, it's always about the money. It's always about the money. So Trump comes and he's like, businessman, why are we spending all this money on NATO? Why are we spending all this money on this? Why are we spending? And they're like, this guy has to be stopped. So right away, they're spying on him in his campaign. They say, oh, that's fake news. You're not spying on us. 2 FBI agents get arrested. A lawyer and a regular agent get arrested and convicted of spying and falsifying documents to get a warrant to continue spying on him. They spy on him as he's president. It's a big deal. Nobody really gets in major trouble for this. A few low-lying people get in trouble for this. They write a big report at the end of it, right? Bill Barr took his hands off of it, and they brought in the special counsel, Robert Mueller, who's crooked as could be, but at the end he says, we found nothing against Trump. There was never anything against Trump. The whole thing was fake, phony, and fraud to try to stop the guy. So they do that. Russia collusion, right? They did that. Didn't work. Then they impeach him once. Still looks like it's going good. They impeach him twice. Then they ratchet up this freaking COVID, right? Yeah, people were dying of COVID, and that's a whole other 3 different podcasts
People
that we
died
put together.
in the hospital. That's all I'm going to say. Listen.
100% people
Where were all the
in the hospital.
Where were all the homeless dead bodies at? That's all I'm going to say.
Right.
That's all I'm going to say.
And early on, there were people telling me, the treatment is killing these people. And I was like, I don't know. But after you look at enough of it, you go, holy crap. Then you meet experts. Robert Malone, Pierre Corey, these guys are doctors. The guy who made the stupid vaccine, I had him on my show. And he was telling me the whole thing. He was like, bro, that's not why we made this thing. This is not why this works. We're killing people. Pierre Corey says, we have killed more people in the name of COVID than anything else. I mean, it's just absolute insanity to the point where everything Trump said is now true.
And it goes back to your man buying up all those farms, Bill Gates.
Oh, yeah. But to bring it back in.
Go ahead.
So the COVID thing is a big freak out. It's a big scare. And they use this to be able to say, it's not legal for us to do a lot of these things, like to say, you have to vote by mail from home. You have to. But we're going to do that. We're going to do it. And we're going to do it very sloppily in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and every single swing state where there was, a little bit of a contest. That's shady. That's shady, and the courts have determined it since that's shady and it should never happen again. But it happened, right? They had even Time Magazine admitted that they were like, this perfect storm of weird stuff happening with ballots happened. But everybody's saying, no, it's fake. If there was fraud, it wasn't enough to swing the election. 40 million votes.
It wasn't enough.
It's never enough.
It's never enough. That's always what it is. No, it's not enough.
Then you get this guy who barely campaigned, who is hiding in his basement, and made very few public appearances. And Trump, who wins by a margin bigger than any re-election of a sitting president ever in our history of the country, gets beat by Joe Biden, who even at that time, we called him Sleepy Joe because he was not up to par. Gets 81 million. I mean,
votes. when he was with Obama, he pretty much wasn't.
Yeah, but that was in 2008.
I know. I know when he was more like able.
Yeah, literally 2008, almost 20 years ago.
It is.
Damn. 18 years ago, right?
Yeah, we're 4 years away from it.
Right. So 16 years ago. So all that happens. And they're like, wow. So, okay, whether you believe in the funny business or not in the election, irrespective, doesn't matter. But that happened, right? Yeah. We changed and broke laws in order to have an election during a pandemic, or we made a pandemic during an election, which is really better said.
My first episode was election night from 4 years ago. It's going to be 4 years. So after election this year, I want you back on.
You bet. I'm happy to do it. So then now we get to this place where we are, Trump gets cheated out of his thing, in his opinion. He says, I'm out of here. You people did fake, phony, fraud election, blah, blah, blah. Then we have another spectacle, January 6th, where he says, go peacefully and patriotically and let your voices be heard. And people that appear to be Trump people are doing very weird things with a lot of support from the police.
Can we just say they were Trump? They weren't.
No, we can't.
You can't say,
No.
oh, why they weren't whole,
No.
like, supporters of Trump.
No, I can't. And I'll tell you why. Because when it all blows over and they ask the FBI director, Christopher Wray, under oath, and they say, can you tell the American people, because we're doing this investigation, could you tell them if you had undercover agents in the crowd dressed as Trump supporters? I can't tell you. Why can't you say yes or no?
And you know what? I could believe that to a point because they've done that in different other situations. Yes.
We started earlier saying the CIA does a lot of weird stuff. No question. You put a few people wearing red hats doing some crazy stuff. I've met a lot of Trump people.
And you can rile up the rest of them.
You don't have to rile them up. If you really look at the footage, remember, very little footage came out very early on. The breaking of the glass, the this and that.
When it was first happening, yeah.
And it played on loop, no, for the first 3 months. It wasn't until they had to go to court and they released other tapes. And then just this year, Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, declassified and released more in 40 hours, right, of video. And now that was 4 years ago, nobody really cares. But there's people watching this video, and I've seen a lot of it. You can see that it's a handful of people that are causing major violence. Some that there are plenty of people out there going, these dudes are ops. They've been working with the feds forever. And they're the ones doing the breaking, and they're like, come on, let's go, trying to rile people up. There's one video I saw, and the guy's like, let's go. And they go, Fed, Fed, Fed. And they start chanting Fed. All the real Trump people. Because they weren't there to fight. That was not their MO. They're not these crazy white people that are bloodthirsty, is the point I'm making. So ultimately, all of this comes out, and then they destroy all the evidence from the January 6th committee. Anybody watching this, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. Do the Googling, do all of your research. Right? Make sure you go and say, what happened to all of the evidence that they collected in the January 6th Select Committee? Where did it go? Nancy Pelosi said it must all be destroyed. They didn't archive it. They didn't keep it. And they didn't release it to the public or the media. They made it all go away. So, yeah, some cop died of a heart attack. Some lady died because she got trampled. And she had a heart attack. There were some people that died. The girl that climbed through the window, she got shot. And these people really died. But all that said and done, the majority of the people that were arrested there were arrested for a crime called parading. They were parading without a permit. They weren't allowed to be on the Capitol grounds. There's video of the police waving them in.
That's not loitering. What is parading?
They call it parading.
Okay.
I guess because in D.C. it's like its own country.
Okay. Oh, yeah, right. It's Virginia, but they make a D.C. guy.
So you have all of these very interesting facts that make you think, wow, that's fascinating. You have all these people that are like this on the rail with the cops, and the cops are freaking out. You get the cops that testify, but all those cops, every last one of them is like a very active Democrat activist in their life. And now they're writing books and they're doing also. So there's a lot of, in my opinion, funny business that happened there.
With January 6th.
With January 6th. It was created to look and be bigger than it was because they wanted to use this line, right? The whole thing was, even the hearing, they hired a producer from ABC News that's retired from ABC News to produce this as a news package, a media event, not as a government hearing. Fascinating. Never seen that before. All that to say that Trump is a threat to democracy. And they believed that this was the slogan to stop him. Didn't work.
Do you think, because I know you got time, do you think they had any play in this young boy with the assassination attempt? What is his motive? What is the motive to get rid of Trump?
I can't speak to this kid's motive. But before we get to that, there's a few things that happen.
I know.
Now, we don't get rid of him through January 6th. He doesn't go to jail. He gets impeached after he's not even president. Second impeachment, he was not even in office. They impeached him again.
That's true.
Unprecedented. Just never heard of this. We're getting rid of a guy through an impeachment process who's not president. Crazy. Now, fast forward, we wait. We wait 4 years. We don't do anything to Trump. Trump's out of office for 4 years. And they go, we're bringing a case from 2007. We think you cheated on your paperwork.
Oh, the Stormy?
The first one was we think that you cheated on your paperwork to inflate the value of your property to get a loan.
Oh, okay.
And the bank CEO says he paid back the loan. We have no issue with him. Don't worry if he paid back the loan. We're going to prosecute you on something that's expired on the statute of limitations. We're coming after you for this. 4 different prosecutions, 91 felony counts, 34 he just got found guilty on. And 400 years in jail is the ultimate charge here, right? Because he's a threat to democracy, he's a criminal, he's a rapist, he's a racist, he's this and that. The E. Jean Carroll thing, in court, we find he did not rape this woman. You owe her $5 million because you said she was this, that, and the third, defamation. The craziest legal reasoning we've ever seen. He keeps winning. He just won last week where they said, Mar-a-Lago, he stole the documents. He stole he's a threat to democracy. He's selling them to the whoever. Judge said, this is not real. This is not real. This guy doesn't even have the authority to bring this case. Biden appointed somebody who wasn't even allowed to appoint. All of these cases are fake. And they were designed to add to this narrative that they have. They're using their power of the government to try and paint someone. This is a cop giving you every ticket in his ticket book because he doesn't like the way you talk to him at a traffic stop. And you go into court and eventually with enough traffic cam footage and whatever, and your friend with his cell phone in the back and enough to finally go, bro, all I did was maybe roll a stop sign. Maybe. And that Ring camera shows that my car was stopped. So I think I did. And that's what's happening to Trump. He's being vindicated. So now we get to what else can we do? We spied on him. We staged the January 6th. We did craziness during the election. We've done all these things. We tried to put him in jail 4 different times. He raised more money, became more popular, and all of a sudden now he's chart topper on the polls.
Well, that's what happens when you do all that. And
try to hold people down, right? Yeah. So now they're like, what's left? Now, who is the they? I don't know. I don't know who the they is. I would presume former CIA, current CIA. If you're a dirty politician and you need somebody to do your dirt, right? You could be a clean drug dealer.
What dirty politicians are we talking about?
Whichever ones you like, right? I mean, because a lot of them, any politician that makes a living off of the government in DC, which is most. Most of those guys are going to be hurt by Trump, which is why you've seen so many people resign, leave. I'm not running for re-election. So they realize this guy.
What was it? Pence doesn't work. Pence, was he the vice president on his first
Pence
time?
was vice president and thought about running for president, and then he got demolished. It didn't work. People didn't like him because Trump asked him in the counting of the votes in January 6th to try something, to say, you have states that are saying they don't want to certify their vote. How are you going to certify the vote for Wisconsin if the legislature in Wisconsin is saying that what you're counting isn't accurate based on what they have? And the argument was, well, the people in Wisconsin are bugging. They changed their vote because they want Trump and they don't like the fact that we got Biden. But they're the electors. And the Constitution says that the electors determine the time, the place, and the manner of how elections are conducted. Not the courts, not anybody else, but the legislature. And these are the electors saying this. So all that happens, and we have this thing where people are like, well, if Trump comes back, he's likely going to ruin things. He may abolish the Department of Education, which is a cash cow. It just sucks money. Think of the last time you've ever used the United States Department of Education for anything other than a student loan. Obama turned it into a bank. Prior to that, this agency's been around collecting money, hiring thousands, tens of thousands of people. It exists for nothing but the sake of existing, bureaucracy. You don't need it. So he says, we'll abolish it. They don't like this. They don't like a lot of things Trump says. He's telling his friends overseas and NATO, you're going to have to pay for your own security. Why am I going to pay for your security?
Well, they're used to America doing it.
Right. So he's like, no, I'm making money here. Then he turns to these people, we're going to put tariffs. We're going to try and buy American. So if you're going to buy from another country, we're going to put tariffs on it. That's what we're going to do. And they're like, how dare you? We don't like this. So he's ruffling feathers all over the place, Republicans and Democrats. So now they become one party, the uniparty, some people call them, right? Or the deep state or the administrative state or whatever you want to call them. But these are just what I call the corrupt politicians. They stick together because they make a living on this. And the minute you tell them, I'm stopping the gravy train because I get to flex and tell the people.
That's normally when you get taken out. Because
Kennedy, Lincoln, these were the guys that were like, we're doing stuff for America. And when you're doing it for America, they're like, oh, hell no. And they come after you. So I think Trump always knew that. I've been around Trump a few times. The security's always very tight. But I was at a thing once at his club in Westchester. So Trump Golf, Westchester. And I observed, and this was like 2 summers ago, but I observed the Secret Service team there. The vehicle was a very old Suburban, Suburban.
Then it wasn't talk about his Secret Service being depleted or something of that nature?
Well, what happens is I think he gets like a handful, maybe 2 or maybe 4 that travel with him, like on his plane. And when he does, but when he lands, he gets more. And they're from whatever local Secret Service office is available.
Okay.
And if they're stretched thin, because a lot of people don't know, I just learned this myself. The main job of the Secret Service is to catch people making counterfeit money.
What?
That's their main, 90% of their work is catching.
You're not taught anything in this world. Wait, the counterfeit?
Counterfeit.
I thought they were.
They're a division of the United States Treasury. And
Interesting.
President Lincoln was assassinated. And they said, use those cops to protect presidents.
But then that.
But they still catch counterfeiters. And that's
so that's their main objective?
Yes. And there's a
but
group
are they trained? But are they
protection.
trained on some?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they're trained to protect the president. But my point is, that's not 90% of what they do. 90% of what they do is catch counterfeiters.
Interesting.
It is very interesting.
Wait a minute. That movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks.
That one.
Yeah, when he acts like he's the fake pilot and he's counterfeiting everything, and then when they catch him, they use him as, I don't know if it was FBI, CIA, as one of them, and they use him to catch other criminals and stuff. When you said that, that's what popped in my head. I
have to rewatch the whole movie.
Oh, Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can. My bad.
So ultimately, these guys. So he gets extra people. What I observed when I was there was. I had never seen several women on one of those details. I'd only seen like one woman. Yeah. There was several women on that detail in Westchester. Young, very young, like 20-something young. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And the guys were also, they didn't seem like other Secret Service guys I'd seen, which were typically really big and really buff.
Like bodyguard.
Like they work out a lot.
Yeah, that's all they do.
These guys didn't seem
They look like somebody who just put suits on?
Yes. And I was like, oh, these guys must be counterfeit investigators that were like, oh, we got the president, you got to cover. Or, that's what was
they were fresh out of counterfeit.
Because they were laughing and everything. Like they were hanging out around the old Suburban.
Oh, they wasn't serious face?
No, they weren't all like I'd seen them. These particular, and again.
And you had seen them live, right? You had to see them.
I was on my phone. I stepped away from the main thing to go to the parking lot to use my phone, and they were in the parking lot next to an older Suburban. And that's when I was like, oh, they don't travel with the car. Because he's got a newer Suburban that I've seen him in when he's in Florida. So I think in Florida, he's got a newer bulletproof Suburban, but when he came to New York, he was in an older Suburban. Yeah, and I was like, oh, that sucks. They give him the old stuff.
When everything happened, it was Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
So those are the same...
I don't know. I think they might have been a Pennsylvania group joined with his... crew that he travels with.
Okay.
But clearly from the testimony of the director of the Secret Service the last couple of days, who resigned yesterday. She resigned. She quit her job.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
She sucks at it. And I interviewed a former special agent in charge of the Secret Service on my show, and he knew her when she started, when she came from Pepsi-Cola as a corporate security person. Okay. Because that's where she came from. And he said he knew her and that she was ambitious, but he never in a million years thought she was the caliber of person that would become director of the Secret Service. And yet there she was. And it begs the question of, are we making hires based on what they call diversity, equity, and inclusion? Am I going to hire you because you're black? Are you going to hire me because I'm Puerto Rican? We're going to hire her because she's a woman. Even though she doesn't have the history of being former military, being a large... Trump is 6 foot, almost 4, right? 6'3". If I'm 6'3", I want dudes bigger than me. That's just my thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's easy when you're 5'8", but it's not easy.
Yeah, everyone's taller you are.
So I'm just thinking, there's guys and girls, right? I think you want the best of the best when you're on these details. The president gets the best. Former presidents get the second best. She admitted that they had requested help many times, saying that they were short-staffed, they were getting a lot of threats, that they didn't feel that they had everything they needed, and it was ignored. And that's why she ultimately quit, because I think she realized, I'm going to get fired because of this.
Resigned it then.
So why they killed Trump? Clearly because they couldn't stop him any other way, and they thought,
why they try to kill him?
We kill him, now he's done, and they have to put anybody else.
I always thought, what happens if that did happen, too? If they kill him there?
Yeah, God forbid, right? What happens? Well, I can tell you, the movement that Trump championed, right? Because I don't think he started this movement. He may have called it MAGA, but the Tea Party is
let's
part of that.
Let's be clear. This has been whatever people would say they're very rowdy, they're very middle America, you know, very like America, we're going to do this and all that. They've been there. They've been.
Right, but it's not just middle America. Like I said, you go to South.
No, it's not middle America, but I think when we
associate that.
Yeah, when I associate that, I think the origin or the origins of most of it is middle America, and then of course it's spread out, you know.
Sure. And just to finish a point I started before, and I think we got into a tangent. When I went to this South Bronx rally, there were no white people there, right? There was very few. It was all blacks and Hispanics, and a handful of white people, yes. But I was talking. These people were not traveling to the Bronx like I did from Jersey. These people were from the Bronx, and I talked to so many of them, and these guys were thugged out street people that were like, yeah, Trump's my guy. I mean, it was just amazing to see the level of support he had on the street. And this was not like where he has a golf club in the Bronx called Trump. It's in Throgs Neck. Very nice neighborhood.
Oh, where Throgs Neck? I had cousins.
This is not Throgs Neck.
I know.
We were in the hood. I heard 6 gunshots while I was there.
What area? What area were they? And that's a regular shit.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, there's he wasn't there yet.
They weren't trying to kill Trump that day. You look, wait. What part of the Bronx were you in?
This was in the South Bronx, at Crotona Park.
Oh,
Crotona Park.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah, like the real hood. Yeah. This is the real hood. Like if we would have stayed later, they would have tried to snatch my chain.
with the security, the Secret Service not there yet.
Oh yeah.
That chain.
It was a rough neighborhood. It really was. During the day, it was a rough neighborhood.
So you were talking to people there, and they're from,
and they were, but they were doing like they do. So like, let's say it's a Yankees-Mets argument. You know, they're in your face, they're cursing at you.
Like when the Knicks was winning.
Yeah. It was a Trump buy, and there was some people. It was all sorts of debates. These guys was dropping F-bombs like crazy. It was so authentic, so authentically New York, Bronx street, just real. And I was like, wow, Trump's got such reach.
Can I ask you a question? We're gonna get back to this. Do you see? Is there from you, because you've been on this road for most of your life right now? Do you see the difference in when Trump first came into office to now?
When Trump first came to office, some just wrote him off. Oh, that's that dude from TV. That's Trump, whatever.
Get fired.
Immediately, the machine moved in. Right. Hollywood, the media, right? So CNN, MSNBC, everybody. Even at a time, Fox. Because the reality is there is a mafia, right? There is a mafia of information in our country. And it really got broken up, I'd say, last year when Elon Musk bought Twitter. That was the biggest shakeup we'd seen in a very long time.
Now known as X. XXX, really.
Right. We'd not seen that. They have the power. And I work for a large media company, right? Westwood One is a part of Cumulus Media that was once Clear Channel, which was once ABC Radio.
Okay.
ABC Radio, ABC News, Disney. Just think of how big that is, right?
Big umbrella.
Theme park. We control what your kids see, watch, hear in the movies where they play. Mickey Mouse. Then the news, ABC News. Then the film industry, right? Because they Viacom, they had a part. MTV. These things were all under one umbrella at one point. And fascinating to think, if there is one CEO at the top, and there was, you could say every division of our company is going to push this angle of this story. And voila, you're reaching the majority of people. So that's a reality. That's not so much the case today because some of those big conglomerates are broken up, but not entirely, right? My company's now only in the radio business. They used to own billboards too. So just imagine that, and still some do, right? There were radio companies that owned billboards. So while you were stuck in traffic, it would tell you, listen to this radio station, and then you're in the car and you're listening to it, right? So you're really controlling the flow of information. Not like they do in Cuba because that's the government controlling it. Here it's corporate ownership.
But isn't that a trickle down kind of? Isn't it trickle down from the government?
From the top?
Yeah.
No, I don't know if it trickles down from the government. I think that's the free market.
What if that? I'm just saying hypothetically, if those corporations have some dealings with it.
Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I think, again, I can only speak for radio. We've fought the government more often than not because the government has tried to regulate radio in many ways. I get on there and nobody tells me what I can say or I can't say. This is really what that all stands for, right? The Statue of Liberty is there. The American flag is there. My microphone, my headphones, and we the people for the Constitution. This is my first amendment free speech statement to the world.
Okay.
Right? I'm like, Don't mess with me, right? Because I really believe in that. I believe that we have to.
You got that on the wrong arm.
What?
It's the left arm.
What?
That's the left.
That's fine.
It should be on the right.
No. I don't believe in the right or the left. I believe in doing what is right.
All right, real quick, because I know you got things going on. Before we end everything, basically,
Let us pray. No,
okay, we can do that.
No, I'm kidding. Okay.
Miss Camilla, or how you say
KAMALA.
Valdes, or M. Hoff, as I like.
Yes.
M. Hoff,
Her husband.
Yeah,
the first gentleman to be.
The first. Oh shit! Is he going to be considered the first?
That's what they're going to call him, the first gentleman.
What do they call when the queen hasn't married? She
wasn't married.
Yeah, she was. Well, she might have not been married, but she had Charles's father.
Wasn't he the king and he died?
He was never the king.
I didn't know that. I'm not British.
No. the Charles' father was never the king. She was always the queen. They had a daughter. She was always the queen.
Oh, because the lineage.
Yeah. But I forget what he's considered. But the first gentleman. What do you think? So what do you think the future holds, especially for this election, this debate, or how she's moving?
Yeah, I'm not much of a predictor, but I'm usually right when I predict things. I think my prediction here, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You know, I'll take it on the chin. I think Trump wins in a very big way. I don't think he scrapes by. I don't think it's a tight election. I think Trump wins big, like Reagan '84 big.
That's what he's been shooting for.
I've seen zero evidence of people that are like, can't wait for Kamala. Now,
I mean,
yesterday I saw some people with a banner on Route 4, New Jersey.
Really?
And it said Kamala, go, or something like that. But it was 6 people, right?
Yo, you're so like dismissive. 6 people.
Because I've seen when Trump says, I'm going to Wildwood, folks, let's get together. And 100,000 people show up in Wildwood to hear Trump speak. It's a movement. And like I said, Trump is an excellent ambassador for this movement. But ultimately, you got Amber Rose, who at the RNC.
I ain't gonna lie, she looks so good in that shit. She looks
such a pretty girl.
She looks so. She could be vice president. So I give a fuck. Like, why not?
Trump Rose 24. But what she said was so, it was so authentic to me. She said, they told me that we don't like Trump. I don't like Trump. I never liked Trump. And my dad started telling me, you got to look at this twice. And I started looking and I realized I was doing what the media taught me to do. And that is a big thing. And this conditioning that we have by our media, which is controlled by a lot of people from the government, is not very different than the government control you see in North Korea and in Cuba. And the minute you see that distinction, propaganda is real.
Yeah, 100%.
And when you can see past it and you can say, all right, you know what? You got P.O. and Rich Valdes and we're having this conversation and you don't have to believe a word I'm saying. But I've said some stuff and it's wise to check it out, and that's what she did. And she checked it out and realized, it's really not that full of it.
I never had an issue with Trump ever. It behooves me of how many people just go off, and I was like, I never had an issue with him. I didn't really care for a lot of politicians because I thought it was what you're gonna be told you want to hear, and then
crook A or crook B.
Yeah, what the
same difference.
Oh no. Is a criminal. Some guy had a shirt. It said, I forget what Biden was. It had something for Biden. This is before he jumped out. It was something he had did, and it was a criminal, and he had a check for a criminal. And people were walking by. He was in an airplane, and people walking by, and they was sparking up a conversation about the situation. But I just think what's bad about it is this election is really separating people. And the majority, the people I see separating is mostly in the black community that I see. I see a lot of separation with black women and black men. Or not just that, but other things, but highly that because, she's seen as a black woman. Black women all really want Michelle Obama, but she ain't going to do that.
Not so she has any interest.
Nah, and smart for her because why would you want to? That is going to be a hassle, especially for a woman. You know what I mean? They don't like to be. I don't think it has to be.
I think it has all to do with Michelle Obama makes a lot of money, and she can't make all that money when she's making $400,000 a year as president. That's it. Mm-hmm. They're making hundreds of millions.
I believe that. I wouldn't
stop making hundreds of millions to go make $400K. Unless absolutely I was the only human that
Or
could
if
help
you could
America.
make both,
Right.
maybe.
Or if I was wealthy like Trump, then I'd be like, I don't need to make the $100 million now. I already got money. My kids got money. We all got money. I'm gonna go and save America.
So
super.
So Miss Harris has no chance.
I don't think she does. I really
With
don't.
3 months, you think if what you said, Biden, if Biden would have stepped down, you think she would have had a better chance?
Probably 15 or 20% better.
Damn.
But still, I don't think she if it happened a way long time ago, yeah, huge chance. If instead of running this stupid debate where he got demolished by Trump, instead of doing all this, and he when he got elected, he said, I may not run for re-election. He said that. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm going to be a transitional candidate. I'm going to be here. I'm going to
when he first got on, yeah. If
he would have kept that word and said, my word is a Biden. If he would have kept his word as a Biden and said, you know what, we're going to have this woman. We're grooming her to be president. We want her to be, if she can prove herself as vice president, she's going to be in. I think it would have been better. Her team, from what I hear, the people I've been talking to, they're saying, we don't want it to look like we're handing Kamala Harris the presidency. We want her to fight for it and earn this nomination.
In 3 months?
Good luck. Good luck. To me, they set him up to fail. Now they're setting her up to fail. And she has one job.
So do you have people? Are you talking with anybody in the Democratic Party that you're like going conversation?
But let me tell you, I think she has one job, and the job is to mitigate the loss. Right. So this is, I'm about to get into a fight that's a guy way bigger than me. I don't want to leave in an ambulance. Right. My goal here is I'm going to try and get a good shot in. Hopefully somebody gets that on camera, so I can be like, yo, you saw how I caught him. Right,
and try to run back next 4 years. That's what try to run it back next 4 years.
Absolutely, because it's not even 4 years now. She can run the entire next term of Trump's. She can be there trolling him, fighting against him. She's young enough to run again. She's
like late 40s, early 50s.
I think she's 49 or 50.
Yeah, somewhere in that bracket.
So this is an opportunity for her to get on that level, as long as she doesn't get demolished like Biden did, and then they pull the rug out. And make no mistake, I believe, doesn't matter how well Biden did or didn't do in the debate, they were always going to report it the way they did. The people pulling the strings, i.e., I would say Obama, said, listen, no matter what Joe does, whether he hits Trump with, because you're a felon, or whatever he does, you're going to say, Joe looked really, really bad. And he looked bad. Because you know why? Joe's looked bad for a long time. And they've always been like, President Biden, blah, blah, blah. And they gloss over it. They never say anything bad because the media is crooked. But this time they were like, why on earth did you ask for a debate against Donald Trump?
That's why.
Because it was a setup. They wanted him out.
That's why Nixon lost. Because when they showed him with JFK, they was like, he looked out of it. He
was sweating.
Yeah, he's sweating. He looked at, and whatchamacall was just laid back.
Yeah. And he was a handsome young guy.
And perception, you know what I mean? If it looks that way, oh, it doesn't look good. I'm gonna vote for the guy that looks.
So ultimately,
and let's be clear,
I don't think Harris can do it.
Trump doesn't come off as a healthy man, but he gets off.
He's lost a ton of weight.
Oh, he did lose, but I mean, when the first term, he didn't give.
He was Big Macs and golf course. But yeah, he's taking it seriously, and let me tell you, I mean, he's not that much younger than Biden, and being
like
in this
2-3 years.
Yeah, he's 76, I think, right now. Or
yeah,
77.
4 years.
And he's got a massive amount of energy. He really does. And he's very in charge. I mean, I guess you need that type of
he comes
boss
off of that. Yeah, he has that boss vibe.
To be Trump.
Yeah,
or to be a successful businessman.
I mean, his name says it all. Like, it's Trump.
Yeah, but he really brings that, which is, you know, I mean, he's so energized. He's so, if he met you right now, you'd think you'd known him for 20 years.
This is P.O. I don't know how to do it.
Exactly. That's it. And he'd be like, really, P.O., what does that stand for? Get out.
Progress.
So you're from the city. Oh, yeah, whereabouts? Because my dad had a place, Trump Village in Brooklyn, and he's from Queens. And right away, he would have made a connection with you because
he's a salesman.
He's that guy. He's a great salesman.
And I come from sales, so I understand that I could respect.
There's a gravitas.
Hey, look. Hey, Bill, hey, no problem. You on the golf course? I was there last week. Yeah, got a couple holes and shit.
That's your man.
Yeah, no, you talk to him like you know him. And that's the whole spiel about it. You know what I mean? And I was like on the phone, when someone would call me, I'd be like, give me your best pitch. Because they did that to me. Give me your best pitch. Oh, shit. So he knows what it is. Right. But if you could spark a good enough conversation that he's intrigued by, he'll give you his time.
And he's paying attention.
Yeah.
I spoke to Trump once. I think it was actually on my show. And I reminded him that I was like, oh, thanks for being on the show. We actually met and we had a conversation about it. And he said, of course, I know you very well, Rich. And I was like, thanks, my man, my guy, El Trompito.
El Trumpito.
So yeah, I think Trump, if by some stretch of the imagination, and listen, it's politics. Things can happen. There's a whole summer here. There's a whole early fall that we have to go into. We have Halloween, the October surprise. All sorts of things can occur that Trump might start doing things the wrong way and ruin his own chances. If the election were held today, she's got no chance. Can I make a prediction for the future? No, I can't because there's too many moving parts. But if I did have to do that, I would say that she has a heck of a job in front of her. Because nobody in their right mind should run for president in 3 months. Nobody. And if anybody was going to do it, it should be the sitting vice president. Like Johnson when Kennedy got shot. Right? He automatically becomes, but then he ran.
Yep.
And I think that's the only way that works. So had Joe given her that opportunity, it would have worked better. But he wasn't going to do it alive. And it makes you wonder, why did they try to kill Trump instead of Biden? And I'm not saying we should kill Biden. All right, before anybody gets an idea. But I'm just thinking, for the sake of political expediency.
They're really waiting for him to fall down some stairs.
Literally, that's the point I'm making is that I believe that had he not left the race, some crazy crooks type character might have tried. God forbid.
Yeah, this is a dangerous world, dangerous time right now. And like I said, I think this is one of the most important elections to date. It's really it feels online, and I wasn't from that era, but it feels like the 60s almost online. Not in real life. Not in real life. But you see how I'm talking about?
Yeah, like a lot of telephone tough guys.
Yeah, a lot of that. Like, listen, I went back and forth real quick. I went back and forth with a friend of mine that moved, and I had put up a clip. I think you might have seen it. One of my boys, Raj, he's a producer. He's like, I have no problem with Trump. Trump did this, da, 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 da. And I said, yeah, I don't have a problem with him. And I put that clip up. This boy was like,
caught some hate.
Yo, how you? And he started telling me how I should do. I said,
he doesn't care about you.
I said,
you know that, right? You know who put you in jail, right? That's what they tell me. You know he doesn't care about you. He'll deport your ass. You know. Thank you. Puerto Rico's nice this time of year.
First of all, he was like, he said something like, "It's stupid." Or I was like, first of all, you don't say anything that I put out or a guest I have is stupid or an idiot or whatever, right? I have the choice of saying what I like or what I think is right. I did not come to you and say, yo, you should be on Trump. That's the thing I hate about it. People come to me and be like, yo, you should do this, you should do this, you should do that. And I'm like, bro, I ain't telling you how to fucking mop the floor, nigga. Like, go mop the floor.
Do you?
Yeah, like.
And let me do me.
Yeah, like, if you see it that way, that's fine. That's okay. I see it a different way. I always say I see the bigger picture and y'all stuck on that one detail. I see how the bigger picture is going. So I could be like, all right, I'm done focusing with that detail. Now let's go over here. Let's see how the train runs through the whole picture. That's how I see it. And a lot of people are stuck on these details. A lot of people are stuck on, oh, she's a female. Oh, they're stuck on, we have to be this way.
They were taught to be stuck.
I think people as a whole, all people need to change and just look at the bigger picture of how the world is moving and how we're moving in America.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Anything you want to say? Anything you want to add?
Absolutely. Make sure you listen to my radio show every night, 10 o'clock live, New York time, Eastern time. We're on 300 radio stations. Probably something like 40
stuff will be tagged, don't worry.
Rich Valdes with an S.com. You could stream the show. You could check out the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you follow me on socials. I'm at Rich Valdes on all of the social media. Can't wait for you guys to tune into the show. And you could call the show live and yell at me if you like. 833-4-Valdes is the number. That's Valdes with an S. P.O., thank you for having me.
How much hate do you get?
Check out my Twitter.
Shout out to Rich Valdes. Thank you for coming, brother. He will be back. I'm going to have him back. I want him back for my election, after election response. I think
postmortem.
Postmortem. I think that would be good. Shout out to Rich and everything you're doing. Hopefully everything works out. Subscribe to Attention Whores. You know what it is. The best. Almighty AWP. Let's go. Politics as usual.
Take care. Good night, and God bless you, America.